I like Nintendo games. I don't like Nintendo as a company. I've said this for 6 years now. Nintendo constantly makes decisions that are actively just hurting the biggest fans of their property. It seems like they're just hell-bent on ruining people's passion for their properties. They're just on this warpath against fun itself. It's like when SpongeBob had to teach Plankton what fun is, that's what the community constantly does for Nintendo, only for them to just shout, bah humbug, and then send you a cease and desist, or just outright slap you down. Or if you're a YouTuber, issue you a strike. Oftentimes, Nintendo is just evil for the sake of it. Like, I'm talking mustache-twirlingly sinister. Like, the Nintendo Corporation is a villain that Mario would have seeked to slay in one of his games. Like, I remember a case like 4 years ago where Nintendo banned a handful of streamers for playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity early. Except they weren't playing it early. Nintendo just forgot that time zones exist, so they banned streamers who were playing the official release of Hyrule Warriors because they forgot. That's how out of touch and archaic Nintendo is and how willing they are to just bend someone over and spank their cheeks raw, even when there's no real reason to do so. This is something Nintendo has done for years now with like Smash Brothers, which I've talked about endlessly, but they get up extra early in the morning just to hate. Like, they try and just ruin fun. Nintendo would send assassins to Santa Claus's workshop if they found out that one of the elves made an unlicensed Yoshi plushie. I know I'm getting a little lost in the sauce here, but I just get very passionate when I talk about how menacing Nintendo is for no reason. So the reason why I'm talking about them today is because they've just dealt a massive blow to emulation. Nintendo deserves more shit than a porta potty for this, and I really hope they get huge backlash for it, because I think this is just completely unacceptable. It started 2 days ago with a channel called Retro Game Corps announcing that they had received strikes for content that had a Nintendo game running on an emulator. The channel owner explains that they are considering a counterclaim under fair use as it was educational and transformative and had no effect on the market. It was a demonstration of a console no longer for sale. Even the Wii U eShop is closed, so the company itself has no means of earning revenue from Wii U sales. So this is one of the core components and what makes emulation so important. There are games that aren't being sold anymore and cannot be accessed outside of emulating them. It's fucking ridiculous. It is an incredibly important tool for preservation. But the only thing Nintendo is interested in preserving is that chip on their shoulder they have against any kind of internet content that shows their games. So they once again overstep and issue strikes for this, which is something Nintendo has done since the dawn of YouTube itself. There was a time period where you couldn't actually have a YouTube video that had a Nintendo game in it because Nintendo would have your account banned. They fucking hate it for some reason. They try and protect their copyright with an iron fist. And I know there's always people that have Nintendo's cock in their mouth trying to make arguments on their behalf, doing free PR for them, fighting their battles, saying things like, oh yeah, but people will download games that they don't have on emulators and that hurts Nintendo. Load of baloney. That's dirty barnacles, especially in cases like this. There is no one getting hurt by emulating games that are not accessible through official means. There is tons of games like that. Emulation is extraordinarily important, and Nintendo does everything it can to ruin it. And in doing so, they even try and ruin other people's lives in the process. That channel now has 2 strikes on their YouTube account, meaning that they're 1 strike away from having their account terminated, meaning a source of revenue, part of their livelihood, is on the cusp of being taken away at the hands of Nintendo. And no amount of groveling at Nintendo's feet ever appeases them. The only thing that appeases them is complete fucking destruction of fun and destruction of emulators. So the big thing that happened today is they just shut down Ryujinx. Ryujinx is one of the last main remaining Switch emulators, and it just got wiped out today. Like the dinosaurs with the fucking meteor, Nintendo came in and they put the kibosh on it. According to an official statement on Ryujinx Discord server, developer GDK Chan was contacted by Nintendo, offered an agreement to stop working on the project, and the agreement wasn't confirmed, but the organization has been entirely removed. So here's the Discord announcement about it, talking about how it's going to cease operations. And like I mentioned, this is one of the last remaining Switch emulators. This isn't the first time Nintendo's done this. They took down Yuzu not that long ago, which was the big boy on the block. That was the sheriff in town. Yuzu was the go-to Switch emulator until Nintendo put it in the crosshairs and they took it out behind the barn. Nintendo's motto is, "You'll have fun with our games the way we want you to. Any other way that you enjoy our products is not acceptable, it's not permissible, it's illegal, you're going to jail, Buster." Nintendo has a set way that they believe things should be done with their property. And we see it in Smash Brothers, where they don't believe it should be a competitive game, so they've never shown support for Smash Brothers and have even actively gone out of their ways to shut down tournaments over the years. And that's just a community of people that love their games, trying to put on events for their games, and Nintendo sometimes comes out there and says, nope, shut it down, pussy. Like, they go out of their way to ruin fun. They've been a little better about not destroying Smash tournaments recently, but historically, you've always just had a coin flip on whether or not Nintendo's going to show up and just say, that's enough, take this down. And it's that way for so many things. It's just so unnecessary, and it's always so heavy-handed. They always choose, like, scorched earth, like the most aggressive path they can take. Strikes on your channel, banning your stream for 48 hours, like shutting down your Twitch channel for 48 hours, which is fundamentally, like, to put that in perspective, Nintendo having that power is basically Nintendo showing up to your job and firing you for 48 hours. Like, that's how extreme it is. It's so stupid. It's silly. Well, it would be silly if it wasn't so destructive. And it's not like they're doing anything good. Like, they're not releasing an emulator of their own. Like, they take down these emulators, and then what? Then the games are just inaccessible. Some games you will never be able to play again now. There are some games that now just fade into memory. A myth, a legend, even, that can never be played again because Nintendo is destroying emulators. It's like, if they had a competing product, I'd understand. That'd be understandable. It'd make a little more sense, like, oh, okay, Nintendo views this as competition. They're kind of stepping on their toes. Like, they have an official emulator, and now there's a bunch of unofficial ones out there. So I guess I'd understand why they'd be reaching their tendrils out there to try and stop that. But they don't. They don't have an emulator. They don't have ways of playing games from the old Wii U shop or anything. They don't have ways of playing some of these games. The only option are these emulators, which now are no longer an option because Nintendo is burying them. They are such a litigious company, yet so lethargic when it comes to, like, delivering things that make sense. Their Nintendo Online service is still a fucking joke. That is still a dial-up service that you're paying for, basically. Every Nintendo Online game I've ever played, especially Smash Brothers Ultimate Online, is fucking sickening. Like, their games, like, they're fun. They're very fun games, but their hardware is outdated. Their hardware is archaic. A fucking calculator on your iPhone is probably more powerful than the entire Switch console. Like, Nintendo is so behind on the times, but they have such good first-party games from, like, some very creative people internally that make bangers, but it's all wrapped up in this company that is out of touch and downright greedy and evil. There is no reason Nintendo should be shutting down emulators. They are doing your work for you. They are creating more fans of Nintendo property than Nintendo is. What Nintendo should do is release an emulator of their own. What they should do is offer better services as opposed to shut down the better services. Like, they're shutting these emulators down without having anything of their own that is an improvement. They don't have anything. It's just dumb. I hate it. I actually hate it. So yeah, I wanted to rant about this a little bit. It's a classic, probably like 2 or 3 times a year, Nintendo rant where I just have to spit on that company. It sucks. I really am so upset with them because they make such good games. It would just be such a slam dunk, an easy layup for Nintendo to just finally turn a new leaf and start getting into the 21st century. Like, finally doing things that aren't just needlessly evil, that aren't just cease and desisting everyone and everything and shutting projects down, taking down fan projects. Like, it's just so unnecessary. So, yeah, RIP to Ryu Jinx. Hopefully that YouTuber doesn't lose his account to Nintendo. And big fuck you to Nintendo. That's about it. So, yeah. Nintendo forcing Garry's mod to delete 20 years worth of content. They're actually making a stink about Nintendo property being in Gmod now. Is there nothing Nintendo won't ruin? They have to be the most joyless corporation on the planet. No exaggeration. It's gotta be Nintendo, hands down. There's more joy from cigarette producers than there is Nintendo. That's incredible. Wow. Wow. I actually did not expect that. I have to look into this. There's no way. This has got to be some kind of misunderstanding. No shot. I heard it's not actually Nintendo, but some known DMCA imposter. We'll go through this. I've got to find out now. Didn't Nintendo sue a 10-year-old's birthday party, or was that a meme? They've sued so many people and cease and desisted so many, I don't know. That sounds like something Nintendo would do, but the one that always stands out to me is it was Marvel, and they shut down a child's gravestone having Spider-Man on it. Nintendo would send a cease and desist letter to a toddler for drawing a picture of Mario without paying them. That is the Nintendo way. So they've been issued a takedown notice by Nintendo. As a result, Face Punch Studios, developers behind Garry's Mod, are in the process of removing about 20 years worth of Nintendo-related content from the game. In an update to Garry's Mod Steam page, the developer stated, "Some of you may have noticed that certain Nintendo-related workshop items have been taken down. This is not a mistake. The takedowns came from Nintendo." That certainly doesn't sound fake. Is that currently still the case right now with the game? Nintendo stuff on Steam Workshop. We're working on removing all Nintendo-related stuff from Steam Workshop. Some of you may have noticed that certain Nintendo... Yep, we just read that. Honestly, this is fair enough. This is Nintendo's content, and what they allow and don't allow is up to them. They don't want you playing with that stuff in Garry's Mod. That's their decision. We have to respect that and take down as much as we can. This is an ongoing process as we have 20 years of uploads to go through. If you want to help us by deleting your Nintendo-related uploads and never uploading them again, that would help us a lot. That does sound like old Scrooge. Nintendo. We're going to see if it's actually Nintendo or not. Regardless of if it's actually Nintendo, it seems whoever is behind it is successfully bullying Nintendo-related property off of Garry's Mod. So they're already causing a huge change to it in a negative way. I don't see who would do that other than Nintendo, but let's continue. Nintendo-themed add-ons seem to have begun getting taken down a few months ago, though Face Punch didn't publicly divulge that the company had issued the takedowns until earlier today. The process has been ongoing since then, and the developers are still working to remove it all, which is understandably a Herculean task. I mean, this has to be Nintendo, right? Like, there's no way it's been months off fake DMCAs. Especially not against a big company like this. Like, Garry's Mod is still one of the most successful Steam games there is. Like, surely the company would be able to recognize if it actually came from Nintendo or a imposter, I would think. You underestimate how much trolls and annoying Nintendo fans love this shit. There's no Nintendo fan out there that's offended that Mario and Luigi are shooting tampons in Garry's Mod. Like, I don't think they're gonna go out there and actively try and take it down by committing a crime, by impersonating Nintendo. Bro, look at the Nintendo fans who had a crusade against Pal World. I guess. But I mean, that's just like Twitter, though. This is criminal. Oh, here's a post from 8 days ago. Aaron Peters, the destroyer of add-ons. This came up when I was looking into it, or when I looked that up. Lately, there's been chaos in the workshop of Gmod, TF2, Source Filmmaker, Left 4 Dead 2, etc. An internet troll by the name of Aaron Peters has been false flagging content creators' add-ons with fake DMCAs. This troll has been claiming he's part of Nintendo, which in fact he is not, and has been doing nothing but causing chaos for the past few months, probably at the start of January. That timeline does check out for what we just read. He has managed to target add-ons that are Nintendo or Nintendo-related. In some cases, he's managed to get rid of any add-ons that even have a smudge of a Nintendo character, even in a piece of art. I don't know if his goal is to get rid of Gmod video creators or just ruin everyone's fun in creating content. He has managed to ruin everybody's day, and I can't blame them. Awareness must be spread about this. People must know about this, because for all we know, he could even target add-ons that aren't even Nintendo-related. Well, yeah, he's obviously not affiliated. He could target anything. He just chose Nintendo to be an asshole because it's the biggest. The Kirby Reanimated collab claims that their videos were taken down by a third party abusing DMCA takedowns, which isn't the first time this would have happened, by the way. This actually happened a few years ago it wasn't the same guy, I don't think, but for Nintendo properties, someone did this as well on YouTube. This company, which doesn't have any clear links to Nintendo, has reportedly been targeting Nintendo. Well, I guess maybe it could be the same guy, just using different names. He keeps fleeing the countries. He goes on these rampages, then leaves the country and assumes a new identity only to do it a couple years later. The name of the company doing these takedowns is A-PAB. Been targeting Kirby creators in particular. Allegations that APAB is the real entity behind the copyright claims date back to 2020, with one creator saying that they reached out to Nintendo and received confirmation that it was not responsible for the strikes on their channel. Oh. Nintendo officially confirmed that they've never flagged any Kirby video, which makes me wonder what is the motive behind APAB's flagging. All I know is that APAB also ruined many channels in Japan as well by false flagging. I'm really hoping someone investigates this company because what they're doing is 100% DMCA abuse. It's also a crime. The last guy that did this in Minecraft got fined 25 grand for each instance. This guy's on the hook for millions. The company's name stands for Association for Promotion of Advanced Broadcasting Services, but information on the entity is scarce. So, I know this has happened on YouTube, but I just can't imagine it happening to a full studio like Face Punch. I don't know. That seems... I feel like they do their due diligence on where the DMCA came from. I would really think. So, this is bogus DMCA claims made by a copyright troll claiming to be working for Nintendo of America, targeting add-ons from Nintendo franchises in the Steam Workshop. So they've been looking to find and take down the individual responsible for this as well as spread awareness. So Workshoppers Brewster T. Koopa, Crispy Toast, and Z Pyromancer's voice actor Electric Star. February 11, 2024, Brewster posted a plethora of tweets involving false DMCAs on Twitter. Okay, I thought this was going to link the tweets. It just got me to an explanation of what Twitter is. Unlucky. In the same day, Crispy Toast uploaded a video titled Reply Nintendo Gmod add-ons taken down, an entry into the Re-Demoman series of videos. Let's see.
I'm sorry.
That does about sum it up. Aaron Peters. Okay, here's the first mention of that name with some evidence. Aaron Peters, our prime suspect here, the Jack the Ripper of Nintendo add-ons. Hours after the video was posted, Brewster T. Koopa revealed that the individual had sent DMCA emails to almost all Nintendo-based Gmodders, including himself, which reveals the troll's name, Aaron Peters. So he's just... Wait, is he actually just sending emails? I see why that would work on content creators, but surely Face Punch wouldn't just fall victim to this. This is like a phishing scam. Aaron Peters, Nintendo of America. Okay, that's not his real name then. That's just the alias he's using. There is no Aaron Peters. It was discovered that Peters had a history of sending fake DMCAs to pretty much anyone that contained Nintendo-related properties in the past, including not suitable for work artists and even Fraymaker's Workshop. Pillow Fort user MKLXIV shared a blog in 2019 that details their encounter with the troll. Peter's motivation as to why he sent fake DMCAs is currently unknown. This guy sounds like an absolutely colossal loser. March 4th, 2024, Crispy Toast uploaded a video called Garry's Mod False Nintendo DMCA Claims, the story, detailing the entire story about the false DMCA claims in the tweets above. Oh, nice. So you already broke down like the whole thing here. What if he was actually hired by Nintendo in secret because they know their lawyers couldn't be paid enough for even that level of heinous shit? Oh, he's just a fall guy? That would be an interesting theory. I think the more likely theory is it's a guy struggling with mental illness and he just wants to do something, like in general, do something to have an effect negatively on others. I think that's probably what's going on here, would be my guess. I'm very confident this guy's name's not actually Aaron Peters. It's just what he's calling himself in these emails. What I think Nintendo should do, and I know they won't because they're still only just now figuring out the internet is a thing they can engage with. But what they should do is take this guy to court and fuck him. Like, he needs to be made an example out of. This is like the third or fourth time this has happened to Nintendo in particular, with people impersonating them for DMCA takedowns. But I think Nintendo's too out of touch to even consider that. But why? He's literally doing all their shit work for free. Yeah, but you also... Even though I'm sure Nintendo's not losing sleep over taking away people's fun, since they love that, it's still illegal to impersonate them, and I'm sure they're not happy about that. I'd really like to know more about this mysterious fucking turbo douchebag, though. Because he's been doing this for years. But it does seem now that Gmod has been hit by this guy, not Nintendo. I'm just kind of surprised that Face Punch wouldn't have done more to investigate if they're authentic DMCA claims or not. Again, they're one of Steam's most successful games. They probably could have a direct line to Valve and ask them, hey, have you guys received notice from Nintendo that we have to take our shit down? Yeah, there's a ton of shit on Aaron Peters dating back for quite a while. And there are just some weird people in the world, man. What an interesting thing to want to do. If Nintendo's reputation gonna get dragged through the mud, it's gotta be on their own terms. Also, should they give this Aaron guy the same treatment they did with that Switch modifying Bowser guy? Oh! God, that poor soul. Yeah, I mean, if God, Aaron Peters probably sleeps with one eye open, because if Nintendo ever does decide to take action, his life is over. They fucked Bowser hard. That man is indebted to them for the rest of his life. What was his first name? Garry Bowser. Oh, they did him dirty. He went to jail, and he still owes them 25% of his monthly income for the rest of his life, till he makes over 10 million, I guess. Hey, I just want to come in here and let you know something that we're doing at Starforge. It turns out we have an extra Godslap PC, so we're just going to give it away. It's our highest end PC with the best possible design on it because it's Godslap related. At Starforge, we're making the best PCs in the universe, and the Godslap PC is so good that I'd actually extend that to the entire multiverse. Just look at the design of the case here. It's spectacular. So yeah, if you want to enter the giveaway, there's a link in the description. A winner will be chosen at random, so if you enter it, good luck. It's obviously free to enter. Also, we'd have matching PCs, because that's the PC I use. It's a Godslap PC from Starforge. It's fucking amazing. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah. It's very rare that I have anything positive to share about Nintendo. I've been a very outspoken and harsh critic of this company, not because I don't like the games. In fact, I think they make some of the most fun games ever produced. But the company itself is just run by out-of-touch dementors that love to suck the fun out of everything, going out of their way to be evil, shutting down Smash tournaments, spitting in the face of all of their fans, and they're just archaic. They're like 20 years late to everything. They're probably still learning what email is. I'll scream this from the mountaintops every chance I get. It is downright criminal that they're charging for the Nintendo Online service when it is unforgivably horrible. It's a joke. It's laughable. It's worse than dial-up, and you still have to pay for it. Point is, I have shit on Nintendo more times than a dog shits on the floor during potty training. But today, I have a very positive story to share about Nintendo, and more specifically, the Nintendo Switch. Recently, a child had been abducted by a predator, and thanks to a Nintendo Switch that the child brought, authorities were able to track her down and rescue her. I know Mudahar just posted a video about this story as well, but I couldn't help but talk about it too, given how harsh I've been on Nintendo in the past. I do want to highlight when they do some good things, like in this story. So what happened here is a 14-year-old girl met a 28-year-old man named Ethan Roberts on Omegle. The two started talking and eventually exchanged nudes, and Robert traveled 2,000 miles from Arizona to her hometown. Eventually, he kidnapped her, took her back to Arizona, and coerced her into meeting strangers on Omegle to sell them nudes via Snapchat. She was immediately reported missing by friends and family, and a large investigation took place trying to find her. They had boots on the ground looking for her throughout the area, putting up flyers, doing everything they can to try and find her, to no avail. Until one of her friends saw that she was online on her Nintendo Switch. She had booted it up to watch YouTube videos and download a game. So her friend alerted authorities, obviously, like, hey, she just logged in on Nintendo Switch. So the FBI pulled the Nintendo Switch's IP address after getting cooperation from Nintendo, so they subpoenaed the information. They had Nintendo fork over everything they had about the IP address of where the Switch was coming from, and the FBI was able to swoop in and save her from Ethan Roberts, the Omegle pedophile. Now, this is something that is mentioned in the article no one really even thought of, because someone's getting kidnapped, you're not really expecting them to have their phone or a fucking Nintendo Switch, a portable game console with them. But apparently what happened here is Ethan Roberts let her keep her Switch in order to stay entertained, and didn't realize that since it connects to Wi-Fi, it can be tracked easily. So one of her friends just noticed that she had logged in, like she was online. and was like, hey, this is definitely something interesting. I'll report it to the authorities here. And that's how they found her. Like, that shit must have been like the craziest revelation from her friend. Like, oh, wow, she's on her Switch right now. That shit must have been like in RuneScape when Zezima goes online and like everyone's eyes get like wide, like, holy shit. Just the simple checking in the Nintendo Switch friends list saved her. And it's still just so baffling how this all unfolded. Super lucky, like very, very fortunate that she had her Switch, because most of the time in a kidnapping situation, they don't like have their phone or anything that has an internet connection, which makes it very difficult to find and save kidnapping victims. But in this case, she had a flare. She had like a perpetual bat signal that was just posted up with her location, but authorities didn't even think to check it. It was her friend that just happened to be on the Switch and saw she was online that noticed it. So that was a very lucky break that they took notice and reported it. I guess Ethan Roberts just assumed that since the Switch uses outdated hardware, that it can't be traced. The Nintendo Switch is locked to 30 FPS on games. It can hardly even play mobile games. I mean, there's no way it even connects to the internet. It's probably just a cup with string on it. It's so old and archaic. It doesn't even use real technology anymore. It's totally off the grid. No one's going to be able to trace a Switch. That's fine. Dude thought the Nintendo Switch was like some kind of encrypted device or something, I guess, or just the hardware was so old and obsolete that it was untraceable. I have no idea, but really fortunate that he allowed her to keep that Switch so she could be traced and saved here. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch connects to the internet, meaning it can easily be fucking traced. Now, Ethan Roberts has been indicted in federal court on multiple charges, including child pornography and transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, and after a plea deal, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. Personally, I don't think 30 years is long enough. I believe that should have been an even harsher sentence, but I'm not the judge. I didn't swing the gavel. But overall, this is a big W both from the FBI and Nintendo here. Nintendo did directly cooperate, and the FBI did act very quickly, actually, all within 11 days. And Nintendo was very quick to cooperate. They gave all the information necessary in order to track the IP and save the child's life. So just wanted to give a little positive story about Nintendo doing a great thing here, and that's really about it. So yeah. 3 days ago, I made a video talking about Nintendo being an evil, soulless corporation, as well as out-of-touch, archaic, and just downright goofy for the way that they treat online content creators like criminals. Most recently, they issued 2 strikes to a YouTuber named Penguinz0 because he made videos on Breath of the Wild that featured modded content. And in the eyes of Nintendo, that is a sin more unforgivable than murder. So they threw the book at him. They were coming with the meat. They tried to give him the business. They issued 2 strikes, and it wasn't just modded content they targeted, by the way. They also just targeted other videos as well on other games. A lot of it did feature mods, but some of them were just vanilla gameplay videos that they absolutely had a conniption over. Nintendo for a long time has historically shown that they hate their fans and absolutely despise when people play their games or enjoy their games in ways that they didn't plan for or in ways that they don't approve of. So for Penguinz0 showing mods and having fun making content around mods, they, started screaming bah humbug and shaking their fist at the clouds, and then hired their legal team of assassins to do as much damage to him as possible. And if it was up to Nintendo, they probably would have publicly hung Penguinz0 to make an example out of him for daring to play their games in a way they didn't intend for people to play them. Would have had him face the fucking firing squad. The reason I'm even mentioning all of this before talking about today's story is because it's only been 3 days and Nintendo has already upped the ante on how evil they can be and how unbelievably cruel they are. Like, they made, I made a claim in that video that they don't listen to the community, they don't care about, negative reputation that they have or community backlash. They don't listen to it, they just kind of brush it off like it's just, little squeaking dog toys that they can just ignore. They don't care what the people are saying, they're not listening. But now, I'm almost convinced they must have heard what the community was saying about how evil they were and said, oh, you think that's bad? Well, watch this. And then they went even harder into degeneracy. So, What they've done, or what was revealed to the public today, is that they have completely ruined a man's life. And I'm not exaggerating. They are putting a man in debt to them for the rest of his life. There's a guy named Garry Bowser, and I'm not making this up. This isn't an alias. His name is fucking Garry Bowser. This sounds like fanfic. This sounds like the plot to the new Mario Bros. Movie. Like, it actually sounds made up, but it's real. Garry Bowser was working with a company called Team Executor. They were a hacking group that would hack consoles for profit, and one of their biggest products was for Switch. They would basically jailbreak the Switch and they'd sell it and make money off it, and Garry Bowser was one of the prominent members of this team, allegedly. And in a couple of years ago, he got caught, and he served 40 months in jail. His time in jail is coming to a conclusion now, and he's about to be released, but he's not off the hook yet. In fact, he's on to an even deeper hook. One that is going to be a life of servitude to Nintendo, because they are coming after him for an additional $10 million plus that he will have to pay back over the course of the rest of his life. He is going to have to forfeit 25 to 30% of his income every single month to Nintendo until he can pay off his $10 million plus debt to them, because he was part of that hacking group. That is a legitimate life-ruining obligation that he will have to fulfill. Now, I want to make it clear, Garry Bowser is not a hero. He is not a saint. He was part of a group that was knowingly breaking the law for profit. He wasn't doing anything, just. He wasn't some, holy figure, breaking the rules for the benefit of everyone. They were very much in it just to make money off of all of this. He knew it was wrong, and what he's done is illegal. But I would argue spending 40 months in jail is punishment that fits the crime. I don't think they needed to add on an additional fucking generational debt that he and his grandkids wouldn't even be able to pay. Now, of course, his family's not going to be obligated to pick up the tab on the $10 million plus that he owes when he dies. But you get the point. The amount of money that Nintendo is forcing him to pay back over the course of his lifetime is one that could never be fulfilled by him and his kids working and his grandkids working and maybe even his great-grandkids working. It is an absurd punishment. Once again, I understand what he did was wrong and he's not a good guy, but this is just beyond excessive. Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that's now face-fucking one random average guy in particular, forcing him to pay back a debt that he will never be able to repay. That $10 or $14 million means absolutely nothing to Nintendo. They wipe their ass with that amount of cash. Meanwhile, that means that Garry Bowser will never be able to live a normal life. He's going to be constantly paying this back forever. He's going to die with negative $10 million to his name. He won't even be able to afford a coffin to be buried in. It's just so far into the realm of lunacy here. And I actually imagine Nintendo celebrating this victory with handshakes all around and then laughing at the misery of Garry Bowser, who now has to send 25 to 30% of his income to this company every single month. Where once again, I imagine once they receive those checks, they throw it right in the trash can and forget about it, because that amount of money is completely meaningless to them. Anyway, the situation is wild, but this is kind of the story, the general overview of it. I went over it more on stream, so I'll just play some clips of that. You honestly couldn't have scripted a better story, but it's real. And he had been sentenced to jail. Nintendo actually pursued action against him. He had made, I think, $300K from all of his, hacking. And he spent 40 months in jail, and he just got released. And now he's going to have to pay 25 to 30% of his income every single month to Nintendo for the rest of his life. And he will still not be able to ever pay that off. So long, Garry Bowser. Pretty sure chat made that joke when we talked about him 2 years ago, too. Which is still a fire joke, by the way. So he's paid $175 of his $10 million plus debt. So he's chipping away at it. He's making progress, ever so slightly. They wanted to send a message to other Switch hackers. It was a very significant moment for us. It's the purchase of video games that sustain Nintendo and the Nintendo ecosystem, and it is the games that make the people smile. It's for that reason that we do all we can to prevent games on Nintendo systems from being stolen. Heroes. You guys are such fucking noble saints. Thank you, Nintendo. ensure that this man will never live his life without the fear of Nintendo down his neck. And then also, while you're at it, why not strike a few more YouTubers who make videos on your games? You guys love to make people smile. The company just got a fine. They didn't like lock up and throw in the slammer every single person there. Meanwhile, Garry Bowser, he got the book thrown at him. He got the wood. It must have been something personal because his last name is literally Bowser. I have no doubt Garry Bowser got into hacking the Switch specifically because his last name's Bowser, so he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. Might as well. I'll fulfill my namesake. 100%. Successfully argued that Bowser and Team Executor had caused Nintendo to suffer $65 million in losses due to console hacking software and devices used to play pirated Nintendo Switch games. I don't recall that. 65 million from the console hacking software? I gotta be honest with you, Chief, that seems like a bunch of baloney. I don't know why the number 300k keeps popping into my head. Maybe that's what Garry Bowser personally stood to gain, or personally gained from all of this? Or maybe I'm just way off the mark, but I really thought, or I vividly remember, like a report saying he had made like 300k from it all. But who knows? That could be wrong. So, okay, so that is what he made for himself. He himself made 300k. I saw someone on Twitter say that they would honestly fake their own death in this case. Dude needs a new dust filter for his Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. Fucking true. He's gonna need a Hoover Max ASAP. Does he even have a job? Well, he's just now getting out of prison after spending 40 months there. And he had a job in prison where he paid off $75 of his debt. So I would wager a guess he doesn't currently have a job. He's probably still hunting for one. I'm just gonna get this out of the way right now. My voice sounds like a chain smoker who swallowed a bag of rocks, and there's not much I can do about it. But there's something I really want to talk about today. Nobody hates Nintendo fans more than Nintendo themselves. Every year, sometimes multiple times a year, Nintendo will lash out and just attack YouTubers who make videos about their games, like the biggest fans. And if they're not attacking YouTubers, they're attacking grassroots tournaments. It's foul. Nintendo has some kind of grudge against people that like their products. They view them as enemies, like terrorists. How dare you enjoy our products this much that you're willing to make content or have tournaments around them? We're putting the kibosh on it. And that's exactly what they've done again to a massive YouTuber named Penguinz0. Oh my god. What the fuck? Nintendo even sent an assassin after me with Io here with that jump scare. Jesus. That was terrifying. It's good to see you though, Io. You heard me talking about Nintendo and just wanted to come in and chime in on how shitty they are? I respect it. Yesterday, Penguinz0 posted this video where he talked about how Nintendo is not only taking down a ton of his content, mainly Breath of the Wild, but also striking his channel for it. For those that don't know, there's a couple different levels of severity here, a couple different DEFCONs you can go through on YouTube, where one of them is a video gets claimed by someone, which means they then take all of the AdSense. Another level is they block it and take it down, but you don't get a strike, you just no longer have the video up. And then the third most extreme level, this is when the air raid sirens are sounding, going nuclear, striking a channel, which takes down the video and issues a strike to the channel, which is debilitating. And if you get 3 strikes, you lose your whole channel, it just fucking vanishes. And this is usually supposed to be reserved for the most egregious of offenses, just severe violations of the rules, like you're trying to punish Dirty Dan for getting a little crazy on the platform, then that's when the strikes were supposed to be used. It's because it's basically like capital punishment here on the platform. But Nintendo uses this willy-nilly. They're very loosey-goosey with issuing strikes. This is their first strategy. They don't reach out or try to play nice. They immediately just start rolling around in the pig pen and spitting and shitting on anyone who's covered their content, it seems. They throw out more strikes than a professional bowler, and that's exactly what they've done to Penguinz0. They've issued 2 strikes on his channel. I'm going to play portions of his video here where he talks about it more in detail, but it's so fucked up. Nintendo is such a scummy company. I cover all of their L's because I love their products, but I hate their company. I think they're still learning what an email is. They don't know what video content even means. The internet is this mysterious boogeyman to them. They don't fucking get it. They're out of touch. They're delusional, and it shows. They do this so often, and they've done this for as long as the internet's been around. Even back during the dial-up era, I'm pretty sure Nintendo would have tried to lobby against the internet's creation in the first place. They view it as an evil tool used by the devil because it showcases their games. It makes me fucking angry, and they've done it once again.
Listen to what I have to say and consider reversing the decision to claim these videos. I make videos playing games, sometimes in strange ways. But for today, it's important for you to know that on occasion, I modify the games I play and explore what happens when the game mechanics are a little different. I have never encouraged piracy of Nintendo's games. The mods that I've commissioned are not being sold, and all of the code is custom, meaning that they are free of Nintendo assets.
PointCrow explains that the purpose of the video is to hopefully get Nintendo's attention to the issue and reverse their decision. Something Nintendo's never done in the entire fucking company's history, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've ever listened to anyone ever, not even like their own kids. Like, there is no one Nintendo listens to, and I don't think they've ever walked back a decision ever. If they even loosely heard from the community, Nintendo Online wouldn't be such an embarrassing pile of dog shit that you have to pay for, which is still just an absolute war crime to even be charging for how bad that service is. But anyway, I'd love to be wrong here, and someone at Nintendo actually has internet access and watches this video and has a heart like, oh wow, yeah, maybe this was overkill. But I just don't see that happening, though I would, again, love to be pleasantly surprised. PointCrow lays out that he makes videos and does a lot of content on Nintendo games, and in some of that content he mods them. He modifies the games to be goofier, and the content is fire. So he needed to explain that when he modifies the games, he's not encouraging piracy, he's not stealing anything from Nintendo, it's all custom, and it is in line with their own content policy that they themselves published.
On April 6th, 1 week ago, Nintendo decided to block all 4 videos that I put up on YouTube playing the multiplayer mod. I appealed their decision, as I'm very much in line with their content guideline policies. We'll go over that in a moment. Nintendo then escalated and issued a copyright strike against my YouTube channel. Not once, but twice. Rather than bundle the videos all into one copyright strike, Nintendo issued a copyright strike for one video, and then bundled the other 3 into another strike.
That's deliberately evil. That's malicious. They could have bundled them all together for one strike, which would have still been an absolute load of fucking horseradish, but they decided to go even a step further to the dark side and divide them in order to issue multiple strikes. That's so fucked up, but a very classic Nintendo move. Just another huge L from this company.
Deliberately putting my channel in danger, but not taking it down completely. I was able to get an email address for Nintendo and sent a message asking that we discuss what's going on and try to reach an amicable resolution that would make both parties happy. I heard nothing back so far. Here's that email if you would like to read it.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure Nintendo has cobwebs on their email address. I don't think they know how to log in. Maybe they forgot the password. Maybe they just forgot it existed. PointCrow does have a legal team giving him advice here, and I think he's handling it in all of the right ways, but Nintendo is just completely unresponsive to anything from anybody. Like, you could actually have fucking Joe Biden send them some kind of presidential message or whatever, and if it doesn't get there by carrier pigeon, they're not getting it regardless. Again, I've said this before, but you would have better luck reaching Nintendo if you wrote your message on a rock and threw it outside of your window right now. They'd stand a better chance of seeing that than anything else, like a fucking email or anything. They truly just don't give a shit.
So the next day, Nintendo claimed 24 more of my videos from my channels. Most of them are modded content. A lot of them are Breath of the Wild. But not all of them are. This is key. They also claimed videos containing footage from Super Mario Odyssey, the Pokemon series, and Wii Sports Resort from my channel. The most surprising one, though, was a claim from one of my first videos back in 2019, marrying Sidon and a bookshelf to create Hyrule's first car. It's just a regular vanilla gameplay video of Breath of the Wild.
The belief I and many others had going into this video, seeing what he posted on Twitter, was that the reason they're striking these videos and taking down this Breath of the Wild content is because their upcoming game, Tears of the Kingdom, is right around the corner, and for some reason now they're going around fucking feeding knuckle sandwiches to anyone who's made Breath of the Wild videos, I guess, and they've always had a real thorn in their side about modding. That's just a rock in their shoe that makes them very upset that people mod their games in order to have more fun with them. They don't recognize that the people modding those games are literally their biggest fans and making a ton of content around it, which only helps spread the game further in a positive way. Point Crow's mods weren't malicious, he wasn't selling them or anything like that, and as you can see from what he just showed, it's not like they were only claiming modded videos. That video from 2019 is just vanilla gameplay. It's not fucking modded out the wazoo or anything. They just very much viewed him as some kind of like bad guy and started blasting him as hard as they could. They fucking claimed the vanilla gameplay video of Breath of the Wild. That is so far into degeneracy. It's nuts. And the cat's out of the bag here. It's clearly not Tears of the Kingdom motivated because they also hit other videos from him that were on completely different games.
These takedowns aren't exclusive to my channel either. Over the course of the next couple days, Nintendo is taking down videos from other channels as well. Croton, another very prominent YouTuber, has had at least 10 live streams and 2 videos removed. Importantly, one of those videos is simply a challenge video, detailing how the game would be played if the player decided to explore Zelda, with certain restrictions the player has imposed on themselves. These takedowns may have started with modded content, but they have spiraled into something else entirely.
Yeah, they've spiraled into lunacy here. They're not just targeting modded content, though I don't think there's any real justification for what they've done, even if it was only modded content. Modded content isn't some affront to God for these companies. It is players modding your game and making content around it, and just enjoying it even further. Now, maybe there are some mods that are bad news, but I promise you it's not the ones you're striking down from these YouTubers. It's just further wiping their own ass with their already awful reputation and staining it even further. But again, they don't care. Purchasing a Nintendo game honestly feels fucking horrible, because you're buying something from a company that doesn't respect you and actually just fucking straight up hates you. It's like buying clothes from your high school bully. Like, damn, the clothes are fire, but god damn it, the person behind it hates me and literally spits on me every chance they get. It just sucks. Like, Nintendo makes such bangers, but the company is just actual trash.
So now you know what's happening. At this time, my channel has had 29 videos taken down, 2 copyright strikes, and Nintendo does not seem to be stopping the removal of videos from other creators on YouTube. They've shown that they're striking down regular gameplay videos as well. It's sporadic, and their enforcement of their copyright is incredibly uneven. The thing is, without even considering fair use, all of these videos are very clearly in line with Nintendo's own game content guidelines for online video and image sharing platforms.
Nintendo is going insano style right now, absolutely purging YouTube of all types of different content out of nowhere. Like, all of it's pretty nonsensical. It's not just modded content, it's actual just normal gameplay videos, like playing Breath of the Wild with like a challenge run and shit like that. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they start taking down speed runs or even just general walkthroughs. Like, it's absolute madness. It's chaos. And there's just no way of defending this behavior from Nintendo. Point Crow explains that all of this content fits within their own content policy, as well as, of course, being fair use. They state that they encourage creative input and commentary for content around their video games, as well as like Let's Plays, video game reviews, which it doesn't really seem like they are saying that with a smile on their face, considering they're now just taking down all of these videos that have creative input and commentary. The things that they highlight that they don't allow are the obvious things, right? Where it's just like, you know, full Nintendo trailers or all of their soundtrack and shit like that. Things that other companies also don't encourage either.
You might argue that modded content is in violation of these guidelines, but historically that's not the case. The terms of service for The Legend of Zelda says you cannot modify the game, but it also says that you cannot stream it, you cannot make videos of it, and you cannot otherwise broadcast it. Nintendo's game content guidelines changes this though by providing a license on top of the existing terms of service, which modifies the terms of service for content creators. All of the videos that they have taken down are in compliance with their own policies.
A lot of games in their terms of service actually have similar statements, such as like no making videos or streaming the game or anything like that. But like Point mentions, there's extenuating circumstances. There's like an overarching branch of it where they do modify that for the content creators and content that is made around their products. Because obviously in this day and age, any game is going to be like streamed or have videos about it. So a lot of companies encourage it, and Nintendo claims they also encourage it. They even talk about like how touched they are when people make Nintendo focused videos, which is the biggest fucking lie ever told. Like, my god, what a fucking fib, no shot. Every video made on a Nintendo game makes them angry. I feel like they view that as lost dollars, potentially. Like, oh no, a potential customer may have seen this video and now they're never going to bother getting the game because they got the whole experience from watching this one guy play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild by killing all of the trash mobs. No, we lost somebody, they've ruined us. Take them down. It's just something that has existed for a long time, right? No streaming the game, no making videos on it, but that's just not the way it's worked historically on the internet for a long time now. And Nintendo has understood that up until recently, where I guess they got hit by a fucking stupid beam and are now taking down videos again. Completely innocent ones.
In fact, what they've demonstrated here is that they will ignore their own policies and licenses to selectively enforce their intellectual property. So, if you've uploaded any video that features any Nintendo content, no matter how transformative or directly in line with their published guidelines, you are at risk. You mentioned in your content guidelines that you are humbled every day by the loyalty and passion for Nintendo's games, characters, and world, and respect that we want to be able to express ourselves creatively by sharing our own videos and images using content from your game. And if you truly respect us and are humbled by this community, don't take this creativity away from us.
Overall, I think it's an extremely strong video from Point here, which once again highlights Nintendo's out-of-touch delusion, and it serves as a great open letter to the company that I have no doubt will go completely radio silent on. I don't think they're going to see it. I don't think they're going to care. They're going to most likely continue to take down completely innocent videos and maybe even whole channels that have covered Nintendo products or made Nintendo-focused content, all because they're just fucking evil. Like, I really don't know what it is anymore. This does nothing to help them. This just puts another blemish on their reputation. This doesn't get people excited for Tears of the Kingdom. This just makes more and more people afraid of Nintendo. And for a company that's supposed to be like all about family fun, I don't know why they want to be feared so badly, ruling their property with an iron fist and allowing no room for creativity or imagination in their worlds from the people that love them the most, like Point Crow mentions. It's just shit. It's just an actual pile of dog shit, and I wanted to talk about that. I'm wishing Point Crow the absolute best here, navigating these 2 strikes on his channel, because Nintendo is a fearsome foe. So I really am hoping for the best for him. He's a great guy, and Nintendo is anything but a great company. They're trash. That's really about it. See ya. Well, my friends, the time is upon us. The drama train has finally reached its last stop. Give yourself a pat on the ass. You deserve it for sticking it out through this bumpy ride. Last night, around midnight, we received the season finale, the conclusion to the Nintendo/Panda Cup/Smash World Tour drama. Alan finally released his side of this situation, his account of everything that happened. He dropped a 31-page statement going over everything from his point of view. I went over all of it on stream, and I'm going to show you all of that. I did it all piece by piece, but right in the beginning of the video, I want to get a couple things out of the way. First of all, I called this verbatim what his tweet would say. And I know this may seem juvenile and vain, but god damn it, I think there needs to be credit where credit is due. I pinned the tail on this donkey and I nailed this prediction. Do I think there'll be an apology video? No. I don't know Alan super well. My guess, though, based on this behavior, he's going to come out with something like the truth, or it's time you know what really happened. And then Alan's statement, the truth. Of course, you could make the argument that this was easy to predict since a lot of drama response videos and tweets start with like the truth or something, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. I still called it correctly, so we need to appreciate that fact. Now, on to important stuff. Alan's statement is more he said, she said. Most of everything that's happened with this drama is hearsay. From all sides of this situation, Nintendo saying, no, we said this verbally, but Smash World Tour saying, no, you didn't say that verbally. In fact, you said the opposite verbally. It's just all across the board. It's a lot of people saying, they said this, no, they said that. However, Smash World Tour is so far the only source that has provided concrete evidence, like receipts. They published some receipts today in response to Alan's statement. So, like I said, Alan's statement is mainly more he said, she said, but in the very beginning of his statement, he gets a little conspiratorial and makes an extremely bold claim that the Smash World Tour was a gambit that they may have never even had the intention of completing in the first place. They may never have even wanted to have the championship unfold. And he makes the statement that the hotel that it was supposed to take place at was never even booked. It never existed. That whole block never existed. This is unequivocally false. It was proven wrong almost immediately. It is either a blatant malicious lie or he is severely misinformed. Not only was it proven wrong by the community, you can go on Marriott.com and still see that you can book a reservation for that event, for the Smash World Tour fans and friends at the Marriott. And if that wasn't enough proof, Smash World Tour today, in a response to Alan, posted their most recent invoice from booking that event. So this statement from Alan is completely wrong. For me personally, that was a giant red flag that immediately cast doubt on his reliability as a truthful narrator for his perspective here. Of course, this could have been somehow just a big mistake on his part, but with something of this magnitude, that's a very large mistake to make because he hung a lot of his belief on the fact that the Smash World Tour was a gambit and then used that kind of statement as like a gotcha, like a smoking gun. No, it was never even booked when it was. There is another head-scratching moment in this document where he claims to not know who LD is, one of the key people behind Beyond the Summit, an organization that he mentions multiple times in this document as like, complimenting them on their importance, and yet somehow he doesn't know who LD is. He made a statement saying, I don't know who this guy is, but he's going around saying some shit and I don't even know who the fuck it is, when he is literally one of the biggest figures in the Smash tournament organizer scene. Like, it's very hard to believe that Alan, despite the communication he's had with BTS and despite how much he seems to know about them, would have no idea who LD is. Very, very weird stuff. But again, I went through each one of these lines. I went sentence to sentence with a fine-tuned comb to get like the entire story, the entire situation, and go through all of it to get all sides. So you'll see all of that. I just want to get like this brief overview here because this is just a lot of information to take in. I do also want to mention that Smash World Tour, in their response to Alan today, posted a screenshot of the email communication they had between Nintendo, which showed them declining their licensing for 2022 and 2023, which they didn't even apply for 2023, by the way. And after their verbal communications with Nintendo where they said the time is over, it is very clear now, with that evidence being posted, why the Smash World Tour was canceled. This is something Nintendo's done before with Big House, where Big House was told by Nintendo you probably shouldn't go through with this. They decided to go through with it anyway. Then they got formally cease and desisted right before the event took place. What happened here is very much the same. Nintendo strongly implied that they shouldn't go through with the Smash World Tour considering they weren't getting a license. They said verbally that the time of unlicensed events is a time that's gone now. So after they got declined, they naturally believed that they shouldn't go through with it or else they'll have what happened with Big House happen to them. And Nintendo is not a company you want to get into a litigious battle with or anything, so they made the decision that it needs to be canceled because Nintendo is implying heavily that it needs to be canceled. So that evidence is now posted on the Smash World Tour's response, so it's another important piece to this puzzle. And there's one more thing I want to mention before really diving in. I think it's important to mention that immediately after publicizing this and everyone having the chance to read it, there were like 10 or 15 tournament organizers in the Smash scene that have been around for decades and they're very well respected that all came out to talk about how negative their experience with Alan has been over the years. and corroborating a lot of the claims that Smash World Tour made about him, as well as claims made by BTS about Alan. And these are tournament organizers that weren't even associated with this drama in the slightest. In fact, one of them was even praised by Alan in his statement, but then they came out and said, well, that's weird because we had a terrible experience with you, and then listed all the problems they had with Alan. These were people that weren't named and shamed by Alan. They weren't forced to respond or defend themselves. These were people in the scene that have had an experience with Alan that they wanted to talk about publicly and call him out for his bad behavior, and they called his statement manipulative or even just straight up wrong or lying. And it was a lot of people all going against Alan and corroborating the claims made by Smash World Tour and BTS. Now again, it is all hearsay. There was no hard evidence or anything like that. It was just an overwhelming amount of tournament organizers that have been in the scene for decades that are all saying the same thing about Alan. Meanwhile, on Alan's side of things, it's only him. I have yet to see even a single person come out and try and verify anything Alan has said or corroborate any of his points. It is just him. Now, whether or not that has any weight is entirely up to you. For me personally, I think with the overwhelming amount of support for Smash World Tour and BTS claims, as well as saying a lot of what they've said, and these, keep in mind, these are unassociated tournament organizers. They don't work for BTS, they don't work for VGBC or anything like that, yet they still are giving their first-hand accounts with Alan, and they're all very much similar. Like, they're echoing the same things. To me, that carries a lot of weight because those are very well-respected figures in the scene, and they are just blowing the lid wide open here, letting the genie out of the lamp and giving their full, unfiltered opinion on Alan and his behavior from what they've experienced. Alan doesn't have that kind of support. There's no one that's saying those things for him. He is the only one that is saying the things he is. No one else is backing him up. Whether or not that's because they're afraid of public backlash is very possible. That could be an explanation, but there's really no telling. The support on the other side of things is just hard to ignore. I am no longer the CEO of Panda, and I will no longer be a part of the Smash community. I do not wish to return. Community deserves the truth, and I'm not afraid to call out names I have to. The private information of myself and members of Panda have been leaked online. This has gone too far. If there's anyone who is interested in purchasing my shares of Panda, please reach out to the company. Divesting is a complex process that takes time. Okay. So he wants to fully step away from the community after everything here, and he's about to drop the hottest potato the community's ever seen with names as well. For a quick summary, the actual truth, here is a message of notes I took during a conversation with a TO on April 14th, 2022. Ken said that you said you'd kill everyone who doesn't work with you. Is that true? Yeah, so it turns out Ken is spreading shit. To the point that blank even asked blank, how do you really feel about Panda? Do you have any hesitations? To which blank said he has none blank. Redacted. This is like a CIA document. Everything's fucking redacted. Right away, though, he mentions that BTS and Smash World Tour feel threatened by them. It feels like the opposite. What are you talking about? The whole community was celebrating Panda working with Nintendo, including the other orgs. I don't really know where that's coming from. The Smash community has always been very symbiotic, where when one org is thriving, every org is thriving. Like, they all work together in the same bundle of success. It's not really like, oh man, Panda's doing well, now we're fucking threatened because now our shit's gonna be bad. Like, if Panda's doing well, it means now there's more interest, and that is good for the other events too, and it's always felt that way. Maybe it was different behind the scenes with Alan. I don't really know. It's super hard to decipher this mess right here. But the impression I've always got is every tournament organizer likes when other tournaments are successful because it's mutually beneficial to everyone. Yeah, all of this right here, I mean, that's a fine thing to mention. The harassment, all that shit is always terrible. That's an absolutely horrible thing that happens during situations like this, 100%. The Smash World Tour was the perfect gambit for VGBC. Information came to us from an anonymous source all the way back in 2020. VGBC was feeling pushed out of the community from losing so much ground to BTS, they wanted something of their own and came up with the Smash World Tour Gambit. He's treating this like he's Lelouch from Code Geass. What do you mean a gambit and losing ground to BTS? It's not a competition. Again, everything I've ever seen from the Smash community orgs is everything's grassroots. Well, it was. So when one thing's succeeding, it helps everything else succeed around them. It's always beneficial. Like, I don't think people are vying for territory or anything like that. I don't know why he's calling it like a gambit. Smash World Tour doesn't get shut down. VGBC gets their own circuit without the years of negotiation with Nintendo, which they were trying their absolute best to do and were in communication with them for a long, long time, doing everything they could. It's not like they just wanted to go behind their back. Smash World Tour uses the threat of social media backlash against Nintendo to pressure Nintendo into giving them a license, which they didn't do until they had already been declined a license. Like, they didn't pressure Nintendo into giving them a license. They did this to explain why they were shutting down, why they had to shut down. It wasn't leverage to try and get Nintendo to give them a license. Like, it wasn't trying to mount pressure to get them to release the Krabby Patty secret formula to them. It was, we're shutting down and here's why. I want to come in here real quick and further clarify on this point, because I see a lot of people hung up on this as a possible explanation for how things got so shitty about VGBC trying to make a big hoopla publicly in order to force Nintendo to give them a license. And I just think that you're not really going through the situation properly. The information all came out after they were declined, not only for 2022, but 2023. So no matter how much public backlash Nintendo would have faced from VGBC's statement with the Smash World Tour being canceled, it would have never resulted in them getting a license. Like, if they had done this months ago, like if for some reason VGBC and the Smash World Tour were like, hey, Nintendo's being real douchebags right now, they're flopping around their meat and, trying to scare us because they still haven't given us our license, it's been radio silence, can we get a hashtag Nintendo answer SWT? Then I would totally agree that they were trying to strong-arm Nintendo into giving them a license through public outrage and backlash. But the fact that all of this happened after they were declined for this year and next year, it just doesn't really make sense, because it could have never resulted in them getting a license, because it's already been decided that they're rejected. Smash World Tour gets shut down by Nintendo, and now VGBC is the martyr of the community due to Nintendo. Then the community will rally behind their other events to support them. Which they didn't need, the community already supported them. I don't know how he came up with such a weird view of the scene. Now, maybe things are different behind closed doors, I guess, but they had tons of support. Their YouTube channel was doing nothing but growing. Their events had huge viewership. Like, it's not like they needed this. In fact, this is very bad for them. They lost a lot of money on it and a lot of eyes. Recently been informed the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the Smash World Tour Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block canceled. It simply never existed. That was debunked by 2 people on Twitter already. Well, that was fucking quick. Let me see. Because I already can tell you right now, we at Moist Esports had paid for travel to that area. Like, that was a thing. Where can I find that being debunked? So it'd be quite shocking to realize that was never happening in the first place. I don't know about the rest of the statement's legitimacy, but to claim the event was never going to happen because no hotel block is ridiculous. People were given stipends/flights for the event prior to its cancellation, plus the TPC venue was booked that weekend. Bear Dog Events LLC, DBA Smash World Tour, money receipt. Okay. This was quite the Allen gambit of lying here with this statement. The rest could be true. We'll still keep reading, but that was quickly debunked. That was a pretty bold one to make a claim on without being 100% sure, because it's easily provable if it was booked or not. I don't know why he'd try and work that angle if it's not real. It was like 10 or 15 minutes later where I was made aware that you can still find the booking on Marriott. I already posted this information at the start of the video. I just wanted to give you everything as I went through it in real time on stream last night. But yeah, and Smash World Tour also posted screenshots of the invoice and everything. The hotel, all of it was booked. It was planning on going down. That claim from Allen is, without a shadow of a doubt, wrong. Whether or not it was wrong on purpose, like maliciously trying to mislead people or not, that's still up in the air. We don't know. Or he could have just been completely misinformed by somebody and then recklessly posted that statement in his official document. This right here is a fine thing to state, like, if they were confused by mixed messages, why didn't they email back? But they weren't confused by mixed messages. According to the Smash World Tour tournament organizers, they were told that the time of unlicensed events is behind them, and then the night before Thanksgiving said they got their email that they are not going to be licensed for this event. So connecting those dots, which anyone would do, is basically saying, you can't really do this anymore, since they were told verbally that time is gone and then they didn't get their license, the natural conclusion someone would draw is, we can't do this. And Nintendo is not a company you want to go into a legal battle with. So I can absolutely understand where that would come from. If there was confusion, I'm sure they would have emailed back, but there wasn't because they were told verbally one thing and then received that the rejection of a license. So I don't even think there was confusion. It was pretty put in stone. But this wasn't a claim they made. They weren't saying that he sabotaged them or got them shut down. Just that his actions of strong-arming the community with threats against, like, BTS with their relationship with Nintendo made the entire scene difficult. This is talking about moving around the scheduling around BTS and Smash World Tour and, like, booking over each other and having to be flexible with dates. I also don't really get this one. Smash World Tour leadership stood to gain the most out of anyone. How? They lost their biggest event. And not only that, they lost any chance of having like a Nintendo relationship because of how incendiary this whole situation has been. It was a net loss for everyone. Legitimately everyone. I don't know what he thinks they gain out of this. Like, community goodwill, they already had that. More eyes on their future events, they already had that. Like, people just watch the events regardless. I don't know why he thinks they gained anything. It's just a full net loss. It's just a bad thing all around. I don't know where he gets this view of like them wanting community dominance. Like, I don't think they've ever shown anything like that. They're more than willing to like let tournaments run however they want to run. Join the Panda Cup, don't join the Panda Cup, whatever. But like with Panda, there was the exclusivity to it where they wanted everything to be exclusive. They wanted all the broadcasting rights. That sounds more like community dominance as opposed to VGBC's events being like, yeah, you guys can do whatever you want. VGBC doesn't even charge you to watch party their events. Ken posted receipts. I've had a feeling he would. I have a feeling there's going to be a flood of receipts coming out after this. Yeah, this was the final act of this play here. There is a lot happening all at once. Sidebar, I've been told that someone named LD is claiming I said things. I don't know who LD is, nor do I care. As far as I'm aware, I've never talked to them, never seen them, and never met them in my life. LD is one of the actual biggest people at Beyond the Summit, like a founder. You know him. You would have had to know him, especially since you've already been talking about Beyond the Summit. I don't know why he's making these easily provable false claims, such as the hotel never being booked or whatever. Yeah, I'll double check. I'm pretty sure LD is one of the founders of Beyond the Summit. Like, been in the scene forever. So if you just go to like very base level, like if you just want like base level, not even digging too deep, going to Beyond the Summit, founded March 2012, key people are David LD and David Gods. Like, they've been there the whole time. And you've been talking about Beyond the Summit and talking to Beyond the Summit, as you've mentioned in your statement. Thus, you know LD. I don't know who Liquipedia is. I've never met Liquipedia. That's such a weird claim to make. Here's the background of my two whole personal interactions this year with BTS, or more specifically with one of the most unsavory individuals I've ever had the displeasure of interacting with, Ken Chen, aka Hotbid. Ken is also the one that just dropped the fattest load of receipts on Twitter a moment ago. At least it looks like it at a glance. Voice crack, at a glance. He's got like 7 tweets that he queued up here after reading this. BTS is a pillar of the community and sets new standards for high-quality productions in Smash all the time. Yet you don't know one of the founders, like one of the key people. I thought this was going to be a screenshot of Ken looking terrible here, like of him looking really unreasonable and mean. It just looks like really to-the-point stuff like, no, that's great. Happy to talk to them. I figured he'd look for like a screenshot that makes Ken look terrible in their conversation. But he just showed a very normal conversation here. This is talking about the broadcasting rights. So it looks like the Beyond the Summit people weren't replying to Alan, not wanting to talk to him or work to him, so he's showing the screenshots to show that they weren't receptive to his communication and attempt to work together. Which is a fair thing to show. They didn't like Alan didn't like them. Looks like Alan kept trying to reach out to make some partnership happen that BTS wasn't interested in. He yelled, "Let it happen. Let the can of worms open." Ken was willing to jeopardize the entire Smash community with reckless abandon. And it would have happened had I not figured out how to stop the escalation without him. This is reading like an actual soap opera plot. Now on stream, I didn't read this line by line of his character takedown of Kin. He made an entire section all about how much he dislikes Kin, calling him extremely unprofessional, talking about times where Kin was yelling at him and saying all kinds of like wild, over-the-top shit. I didn't read any of that out loud, but he focused very much on personally going after Kin, calling him just a terrible person to work with and all kinds of horrible things, which is very shocking for the whole community to hear because Kin has an unreal reputation. Like, squeaky clean people love Kin, not only in Smash, but in Dota as well, as I understand it. So this was one of those things that was a big shocker to the community, so a lot of people focused on that. Outside of Alan's statement, there was a lot of TOs that came out and said, wow, this makes no sense because I've worked with Kin for years, and he's been nothing but amazing. I show this tweet on stream, but I'll just mention it briefly now. There was also a tweet that talked about a situation where an organization was trying to work with Kin, but the whole deal fell through and it got really sour between them with like a business thing. But they pointed out that Kin at no point raised his voice and was actually cordial through the entire thing and extremely polite, forgiving, and they ended up working together later on down the road because of how professional Kin was. His professionalism was legendary, so much so that even with all the business things falling apart between the two orgs, Kin was able to just stand out and still make things happen because of him just being such a good guy. So everyone came to bat for Kin, even though Alan had wrote like 6 paragraphs detailing a horrible, horrible character assassination of him. Alan is the only one that has anything negative to say about Kin, which is a little odd. Here's me talking to Alan about how running to Nintendo and banging on doors about the broadcast rights is potentially an existential threat to the entire scene. Oh, this is actually the continuation from one of the screenshots Alan posted, because this is still talking about broadcasting rights in the gray area. Where are we coming in here? Well, I hope they don't. That'd be pretty catastrophic for every single event. I don't know what they're thinking right now, but yeah, def could get rough in some situations. I hope not. So this is him acknowledging the Nintendo broadcasting debacle that was briefly talked about in Alan's statement. Jesus, this is so much back and forth, people taking notes and talking to each other here. In that call, Alan threatened BTS multiple times. I reported the threats as the call was happening directly after to LD. My boss at the time, LD was not on the call, but was there as I typed a transcript of it on Slack. Here's a screenshot of me doing so. Dude, Alan's on the call legit threatening me about 2023. What the fuck? To be clear, I did not yell or explode at Alan. Of course, there's no way to prove one way or the other. He may have, he may not have. There's no way of telling. There's no hard proof on either side. Panda themselves issued a statement saying they regret Alan threatening BTS, yet he completely denies it happens here. I don't accept your apology because even here you don't actually apologize. You even say accept Kin and only admit the conversation was perceived wrong. That is a fair point. In Panda's official statement, they acknowledged what Alan did and why it was bad. Well, not why it was bad. They acknowledged Alan did threaten BTS, but it looks like Alan's saying that didn't happen and he doesn't even know who LD is, which is a weird angle to play. I have not been publicly and privately turning people against Panda for months. I've simply been telling the honest story of what happened, which was threats and bullying by Panda, his own org. Threats and bullying that Panda, his own org, admitted to happening. I will say that since there's no like verbal proof either side's going to have here, I don't think any of them secretly recorded the call. Taking notes of what happened on either side is completely unreliable evidence. Because let's say I'm in an argument with someone or I'm talking to someone I really don't like, I could easily just be like, I'll just type some fucking notes right now about shit that's not happening in order to use this later if I ever need to. Because there's no way you can ever fully disprove it since it's just a verbal communication. You can literally type anything. Like, you can't put a lot of stock in, I took these notes during the conversation as they happened. On Kin's side or Alan's side, neither one of them really has a whole lot of stock in it. Like, because again, you can just type anything if you just don't like the guy. Like, it's not real evidence. They would need like an unbiased third party to take those notes, yeah. You would literally need a witness there to transcribe it accurately. But even Panda says Alan tried to bully the other org. No. That is confirmed by Panda as well as multiple sources. Like, that has confirmation. What I'm saying is, like, the note-taking of live conversations isn't evidence. Here's us predicting this drama and situation happening in March, which is why I didn't speak out earlier about this whole thing. I didn't want the entire community and Pandas and org to suffer. It sounds like he is so desperate that he's trying to get Nintendo to bully TOs into working with Panda. Yeah, I don't think that can even happen, though. And yeah, response is definitely a massive PR response, which gets the entire community to say fuck Panda and fuck Nintendo. Because Nintendo does actually care about public backlash, and this would be basically Evo, and this would be basically Evo 2.0. The biggest public backlash in history would be shutting down every major TO's ability to sell sponsors and broadcast rights. Yeah, it's the death of the competitive stream smash. This is them talking about, like, this could happen with the way Alan was behaving, I suppose. This is just hearsay. Yeah, so far Alan submitted no proof. The only proof he's had is that BTS didn't respond to him, but both sides are acknowledging that their conversations together were not productive and they were not friendly. They were not good conversations. So it makes sense BTS wouldn't respond to Alan going forward. That's not really showing me anything. Their unwillingness to work with him. That actually tracks. That sounds about par for the course. Okay, so he's saying that this was a misunderstanding about strong-arming and threats, I guess, by extension. That he was excited to talk about it and maybe didn't convey it properly. Which I guess? But Panda said that they were aware of a way that Alan conducted himself that was unprofessional and not good. That doesn't sound like a misunderstanding. If it was a misunderstanding, I feel like Panda would have been much more on that train of, no, Alan never meant anything by this, it was a misunderstanding. I feel like they would have defended that as opposed to just run with it. Like, yeah, we know Alan did something bad. And then, like, be dismissive. But they acknowledged it, right? But if it was a misunderstanding, I feel like they would have just said, like, no, this was a misunderstanding. I guess maybe at that point, like, the Panda PR team wasn't talking with Alan, so I'm trying to give, like, a really charitable interpretation of it, because he's saying something very different than what Panda themselves was saying with that. I would be very inclined to believe this statement. We get 10% of a much bigger pie, we don't want the full pie. If he wasn't asking for exclusivity, though, right? He still hasn't explained why it was exclusive because it's redacted information in here. I guess that's like a super secret thing. But there'd have to be like a really good reason for it to be exclusive because that's like the exact opposite of we don't want the full pie. Big question we get all the time is what is Nintendo providing that makes the partnership worth it? I don't even care what he says going forward. What are they providing? Fucking nothing. Them just being there in an official capacity is more than they've ever done, and it takes a big headache away of like, will this get shut down by Nintendo? Maybe they do more than that, but all they need to do is just like sign off on it. Like that's all they've ever had to do is just sign off on it, and if they like it, man, maybe even put like some money and like prizes behind it or some shit. I hope he addresses their reasoning of not giving the Smash World Tour license being health and safety related. I'd really like more insight on why that decision would be getting made, but I guess Alan might not be the one to clarify it. So in his closing remarks, I think there is a very real possibility that at some point along this journey, Alan really did want to do a good thing for the community, but just didn't execute it very well, and it came across as more pushy and shady, a bit sketchy, and could even be construed as being threatening. That's the impression that I get. All the TOs seem to think that Alan has never really had the community's best interest at heart, but again, this is all hearsay. I do think there is a possibility that Alan did at some point want this to be a net positive for the whole community, but went about it in a poor way, and it ended up being a overall bad thing that eventually landed us in this situation. But I still think the party most at fault is Nintendo, obviously. If Nintendo had just been more willing to work with the entire community over the last fucking decade or so, we would have never been in a position like this. If they were just more willing to actually get involved in this scene and just at least give their official blessings to other organizations running their tournaments, this would have never been something that even unfolded. There wouldn't have been like some kind of power trip or greed in this regard. I'm sure greed would have always been present some way. but in some way or another. But it would have been a lot more conducive to a healthy tournament environment. So I still think Nintendo is the biggest party at fault here. But of course, absolutely, things with Alan must have gone very awry. Talking about how lit the finale would have been. Would have had arcade games, a carnival section, blackjack, hookers, gotcha machines, and crane games. God damn. And completely free. Woof. They gained the destruction of one of their competitors. I think everyone still has this really bastardized idea of how this ecosystem has worked, at least as I understand it. Even in Alan's statement, he's talking about how he always wanted to symbiotically work with the community. That's been the norm in the Smash scene. Since it's all grassroots, everyone succeeds together or they all fail together. Like, it's not... I've never seen them viewing each other as competition where they want others to fail. Because it helps them when they don't fail. Like, when Panda was doing well, VGBC was doing well, BTS was doing well. When one of them was struggling, the other two then start struggling. Like, they all needed to work together. It was always ride or die. I think the most important thing, like, again, all of this is hearsay. Like, there's no hard proof of anything from either side except from Smash World Tour with their side from Nintendo. They do have all of those receipts. Like, they do have that. That is all hard evidence. Everything else is hearsay at the end of the day. But the two big things here is in Smash World Tour's statement as well as what LD posted, there's nothing that's been factually proven incorrect. In Alan's statement, there are two factually just blatantly wrong things that he says that are provably incorrect. And one of them's huge, because it's what he put as like the linchpin of his statement of Smash World Tour maybe being a gambit. It's where he said, I've been recently informed the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the Smash World Tour Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block canceled, it simply never existed. That is provably incorrect. Taking notes of a verbal conversation is not evidence. That's not substantiated stuff. Like, you can say anything there and claim that you were taking notes during a conversation. It's what Alan's done here with his notes. Kin also took notes about it. Either side could be completely lying about what I actually said there as a way of having, like, a little bit of a weapon down the line should they ever need it. It was a transcript, no? A transcript he wrote. I could have like, right now I could say the conversation you and I are having is you confessing to a crime and like, wow. User in chat said, oh my god, he buried the body underneath the pavement. Like, it's useless. Just because you say you're typing what happened, it's worthless unless it's like an unbiased third party that is transcribing it. Like, I just don't put stock into this, like, I took notes during our conversation and this is the truth, because you can't prove it. Which is why it's just hearsay. Ja, it just proves they were talking about it back then. Oh, you're talking about Kin's tweet. Yeah, at the very least, his proves they were talking about Alan and his behavior all the way back in March. That is fair. I thought you were talking about the transcripts. That is a fair thing to say. Alan and Kin and LD were talking about Alan all the way back in March about what he was doing and how they didn't appreciate his behavior. That's fair. This is not claiming to be like a transcript of something that happened. This is just a conversation the two of them had in March. That's fair. Holy shit, this is actually from a TO of Genesis giving a character witness statement on Alan. This is, as I've just learned, Genesis is like an official licensed partner with Nintendo, or at least has been. Got some shit to say, not going into detail, but from the very first moment Alan opened his mouth to the last time we spoke, nothing but snake-like sounds could be heard, like that shit in Harry Potter. Parcel tongue, my man. It's called parcel tongue. That's aggressive. Again, this is all hearsay, but I think it's important to note, every TO so far has only had negative things to say about their interaction with Alan. There has not been a TO to come forward as like a positive character witness for Alan yet. There's no evidence, but this is like the 9th or 10th TO to share very similar experiences. In one call, it was confirmed that he was to be the licensed broker for the whole scene. This has the potential to be really, really bad for everyone. That means eventually, if he wanted to, you would have to be part of the Panda Cup to get a license, one person having the keys. If that's true, that is a massive problem. Obviously for the reason he points out, but also if he just doesn't like you, he never has to grant you that license. And thus, if the time of unlicensed events is truly behind us, like Nintendo said in their call with Smash World Tour, if all of that's true, then that means you would not be able to run events without Alan's blessing as the license broker. I can go on, but generally most of the shit he's saying in that 31-page garbage tweet is a lie. It's riddled with manipulative ways of speaking, and it's just more of what I expect of a guy who thinks he's the fucking savior of Smash. This is, I guess, an important perspective because he is the TO of a very big event that is also licensed by Nintendo and was not even mentioned in Alan's tweet, or in Alan's statement. Thus, he was not put on the defensive. He didn't need to say anything. He wasn't forced to say anything. He's doing this because he felt so strongly about it with his own interaction. He had absolutely no stake in this other than just wanting to come out here and give his take on how he feels about it based on how he's talked with Alan. So this, I think, is a pretty big one. Here's the other main TO for Genesis statement. Damn, everyone's coming forward with statements now. I mean, this was a bombshell from Alan. Even though there was no evidence, it was still a very huge thing for the community. So, Crimson Blur is standing up for Ken as a character witness for how they've worked together. To add on to this, I'd like to cite a situation that happened between Genesis and BTS that Ken could have completely thrashed this over privately and publicly, but didn't really even get mad or remotely raise his voice. So this is them defending Ken in what was a very aggressive stance from Alan against Ken. So this isn't him so much talking about Alan here, it's more just defending Ken. Which pokes holes in Alan's interpretation of Ken, posting him as some kind of like boogeyman in the scene. It's such a fucking shame, man. Ugh. At the end of the day, I still think the biggest villain is Nintendo themselves. Had they just been more receptive to working with the community a decade ago, we would have never been in this position to begin with. It would have never happened. There would be no power trips. There would be no hearsay, no he said, she said shit, no potential misinterpretations, no bad blood. Everyone would be on the same goddamn page. It would have been so fucking simple. I spent over 2 years working with Ken in an office, never heard him yell or be out of line in even our biggest disagreements. Ken actually taught me a lot about being level-headed and evaluating tough situations with care, especially in meetings/BD initiatives. The amount of people coming out to defend Ken's character speaks volumes. Alan seems to be the only one with this view of Ken. No one else has come forward to corroborate Ken being an asshole. So that pokes doubt in that entire section. Because again, it's all just hearsay. Even like the character witness statements are just them giving their own anecdotal proof. But there's so many of them, whereas Alan is just one. And for what it's worth, I have also talked to Ken. Since having Moist Esports and being more intertwined with the community, I have also talked to Ken, and I have nothing but a positive experience with him as well, but I don't know him to the same level as everyone else. More and more OG members of the community come out to talk about Alan being a snake, makes it harder and harder to believe a word he says. Exactly. At the end of the day, it is all hearsay, but with so many people all saying similar things about their interaction with Alan, and so many people coming together on Ken's side about how his interpretation in Alan's document makes no sense, based on the years they've spent working with Ken, I really think that speaks a lot. The question now is, does Nintendo go full scorched earth on unlicensed events? I fucking hope not. In the most ideal of circumstances, this whole situation is a big scar on the Smash community, but it heals with Nintendo taking the first step saying, this is a mess. Boys, we done made a big ol' shit stain on these britches. But it has shown us the passion of the community and we want to work closely with other organizers. I don't see that happening. I certainly don't see it happening. But that would be the absolute optimal outcome. This was really only the start. There were so many other people in the scene that came forward giving their own accounts with Alan, as well as things that he was doing, such as trying to buy out stuff and try and take control of other things in the community. And a lot of people saying very similar things like that. There was just so much of it. I won't show you every single piece of it. There's a giant mega thread on it if you want to see it. It's on Reddit. It's also on Twitter. So yeah, it was just a lot. And I wanted to talk about this because this is absolutely the conclusion to this drama, I think. I can't imagine anything more from this. I really think this was the final performance here. And what a wild finale. I could only hope that going forward it's nothing but positivity for the community. Hopefully this didn't scare Nintendo away forever. Hopefully they are receptive to working with the community going forward and making special things happen and improving the professional Smash scene. But I think that's pretty unlikely. They've shown in the past they don't care. And with something like this happening and being like a big PR disaster for them, like they really might not come back, and that would be a fucking shame. But anyway, just wanted to talk about it. That's about it. So yeah. There are two things in this world that never work under any circumstances: the McDonald's ice cream machines and gaming boycotts. Gamers have an insatiable appetite to consume. To reject that urge goes against their very nature. Anytime something shiny comes out, you can bet your sweet bippy it will be purchased and played, no matter how vocal people are about abstaining from it and not buying it. Like, the most notable being Modern Warfare 2. There was a big hoopla and a huge movement about boycotting Modern Warfare 2, and then if you went into, like, the Steam group from the big boycott organization, almost every single person in there was currently online on launch day playing the game. And that's just kind of been the song and dance for gaming boycotts forever, really. Interrupting this broadcast real quick to give you an announcement that Starforge is doing an absolutely massive sale right now. So if you're looking to upgrade your PC, now is the perfect time to do that. You can click the link in the description. Of course, there have been some outliers, a few exceptions, where people really did vote with their wallets and voted no. That has happened. It's just not common. And right now, there was a huge push against the Nintendo Switch 2 for a lot of bad business practices, and people were talking about how they're definitely not buying it this time around, they don't want to support it. And I'm sure you can already guess chapter 2 of this story here, the climax. The Nintendo Switch 2 releases, and that shit has been gobbled up like a bowl of cereal by a ton of people that were very outspoken against the Switch 2 and talking about like they won't be purchasing it, which was all very easy to say before it was available. But now that it's here, they have jumped on that opportunity to own one enthusiastically and are playing it furiously and enjoying it too. I didn't expect the Switch 2 to flop. It was very predictable that everyone that was rallying against it was going to inevitably purchase it, because this is like clockwork. It happens all the time in gaming. It was always going to be a super success. And I talked about that numerous times over my coverage of Nintendo and everything that's been going on there recently. So I'm not surprised that I'm not angry or anything either. I just find it very silly. And unfortunately, it's putting me in a pickle where a lot of people think I'm going to cave and buy a Switch 2 any day now. Because I'm sure a lot of you know I'm not the biggest Nintendo enthusiast in recent years, with a lot of their behavior against the community that loves their games, as well as their litigious nature of going after things that they believe is some kind of threat, like Pow World, and really overreaching there, mind you. And their pricing, I think, being abominable and a huge blemish to this whole industry, trying to normalize the $80 first-party titles, paid services for things that are currently free, like the Discord equivalent in the Switch 2, which is just a much worse version of just using Discord. I could go on and on. I've already told you these things. I don't need to just regurgitate them, fucking, baby bird them into your mouth again. Point is, I've made it very clear that I had no plans of getting the Nintendo Switch 2. At the time, I had absolutely no desire to get the Nintendo Switch 2. And I still don't. I still didn't buy a Nintendo Switch 2, and I don't even have, like, the slightest semblance, like, not even, like, the one molecule in my being is tempted to buy the Switch 2. And that's not even because I'm someone that, like, calls for a boycott of Nintendo or anything. I really don't care. There's a lot of people that bought it, they're really enjoying it, and a lot of people are reporting that it's a great console, and I'm very happy that they're having fun with it. At the end of the day, that's the most important part. So it doesn't bother me whatsoever. I have never once tried to, shout out a rallying cry to stand up to Nintendo. If you want to buy it, and you're having fun with it, all power to you. I'm just not in that camp. I've never tried to be a boycott Barry here, trying to get people to not buy the Switch 2. All I've been doing is just talking about things that I personally don't agree with the way Nintendo's been doing things over the last couple of years. But if people want to get it, I think that's great. and have fun doing that. I've seen some really cool videos too from like the midnight launches. It felt very nostalgic because I remember being a kid going to like midnight launches for Gears of War 2, for example. And the clips I've seen really do remind me of that. That's a very fun thing to see happen again. Like Dashi and Corey Kenshin were apparently at one of the midnight launches, and they were dancing and having fun, and everyone was having a great time for the Switch 2 launch. I'm not trying to drop trousers and plant my ass on the fun here. I am not the fun police trying to sound the alarm. I encourage it, and I'm glad so many people are enjoying it. I'm just not someone that is getting the Switch 2 for a variety of different reasons. Now, even if it wasn't like Nintendo's business practices that I had such an issue with, the launch catalog also just isn't really super appealing to me, personally. Looking at the Switch 2's drop just isn't exciting. It's mainly games I've already played before. In fact, it is almost exclusively games I've played before, except for the new Mario Kart game. So, like, I don't really need to just pay full price for games I've already experienced just to experience them again on the Switch 2. That doesn't make me, salivate and want to sink my teeth into it. And I'm not so excited about the new Mario Kart that I need to go out there right now and buy the system to experience it. But that's just me and my size small underpants here. Like, that's not going to be a one-size-fits-all for everyone else. Maybe there are people out there that didn't play these games and want to experience them on the Switch too. They want to have the handheld capabilities. That's totally fine. And you bought the system so that way you can play them for the first time, or you're a huge Mario Kart fan and this was a system seller for you. Again, all power to you. It's just, for me personally, I won't be getting it. Because of so many people that were outspoken now buying the Switch 2, I'm getting lumped into that group for some reason about like, any day now Charles is going to buy it because he was trying so hard to push against Nintendo and try and get everyone else to do that with him. I wasn't. Yes, I was pushing hard against Nintendo because it's a company that produces games that are really near and dear to my boners. I fucking love so many Nintendo games. Like, if you watch the video I just made on my top 50, a good chunk of those are Nintendo property. They make bangers, games that absolutely slap. But the company itself, I think, is outright, like, brutal. Like, they are absolutely brutal. And I just wish that wasn't the case, and it makes me upset. And I don't have any desire to support that. But, again, that's just me. I'm not trying to get other people to do that as well. Again, the most important thing is that you're having fun, and if this is something you really want to get and you're enjoying it, that's great. I'm having fun not getting it. So, I am not your enemy, Nintendo Switch 2 fans. And I certainly don't think any less of anyone that did get a Switch 2. It's really not that deep. I'm not fighting a war here. It's just one personal Neanderthal's decision to not buy the Switch 2 for a variety of different reasons that maybe don't matter to you at all. They just matter to me. That's it. So I'm not getting the Switch 2. I have no plans on it anytime soon. Will I consider it in the future? Maybe. If Nintendo starts to work more with the community as opposed to against them, sure, I could definitely see myself getting a Switch 2 down the line to try and encourage that direction as opposed to the direction they've been going down for the last few years. Absolutely. It's not like I have some unreasonable, irrational, blind hatred of Nintendo as a company and will refuse to support them forever. Not at all. I would much rather be talking about Nintendo W's as opposed to L's. I would like to see them be more community-focused and more enthusiastic about, like, gaming in general, as opposed to trying to figure out ways of nickel and diming more and more, like getting more juice for the squeeze out of consumers' wallets for their products. That's all. That's literally it. So, if we can get to a point where Nintendo starts going more in that direction, I'll be just as happy as anyone. You'll see me dancing about Nintendo Switch 2 and all that, if we can get to that point. But right now, we're not there. Maybe we never get there. Who really knows? Hopefully, at some point, it does. But currently, and at least for the foreseeable future, I won't be getting the Switch 2. But I don't expect anyone else to follow that. I want you to do what you'd like to do. So that's really about it. It's not that deep, I don't think. That's it. See ya. Last night at around midnight, we were blessed with another chapter in this never-ending story of drama with Nintendo, Panda, and Smash World Tour. This is of course a scene I'm very passionate about since our esports organization literally started in Smash Brothers. Without Smash Brothers operating the way that it has been, there would be no Moist Esports, and without Moist Esports, the world is a worse place. So I've been following this story extremely closely, and last night we got a brand new development. Now, we had previously already had a statement from Nintendo. They dusted off their typewriter and sent in the carrier pigeons to deliver their letter, stating that the cancellation of the Smash World Tour was, I guess, a bit of a misunderstanding. They didn't give them an official license for the Smash World Tour, but apparently verbally said they're okay to continue it, even though Smash World Tour says that verbally they said the opposite, that grassroots unlicensed events aren't welcomed anymore. So very conflicting reports there. I tend to lean on the side of Smash World Tour organizers being more truthful in this situation, since it seemed Nintendo was kind of in panic mode and delivered that statement. And then we also got a statement from Panda saying the same thing as Nintendo, but then also dismissing Alan's behavior as not that big of a deal. Alan was the CEO of Panda who went around and would threaten events if they didn't join his circuit instead of the Smash World Tour. He would say, like, it'd be a shame if this got shut down. It'd be a real shame to get Nintendo involved here. So he acted like the Smash Brothers Mafia, running a protection racket. And when Panda released their initial statement, they kind of dismissed it as not a huge issue. They acknowledged it briefly, saying, like, yeah, Alan went rogue. He started breaking kneecaps of people that didn't want to join the Panda Cup and threatened to maybe get Nintendo involved in their unlicensed event and maybe intervene. But, you know, it is what it is. That wasn't great, but that's okay. Alan cares. We all care. At Panda, it's community first. We're here to fuck some ass and have some fun. But that wasn't received positively since they didn't really address anything. It was very much a nothing sandwich. And then last night at midnight, Panda released another statement, and Alan did as well. Alan finally came out of the shadows, putting on his superhero cape in order to save the day by releasing his side of the situation, and instead of actually making a real statement, he dropped a teaser trailer for an upcoming statement. So he said that he has evidence to prove two things, and then dropped a picture of bullet points, 2 bullet points. The first one, Smash World Tour lied, and the second one, Beyond the Summit, which was the organization that he had threatened, was actually jeopardizing the community. That's all he said, but he said he has evidence to prove these claims, but he didn't provide it yet. So, if he does have evidence to back these up, that would be a huge Uno reverse moment, but I don't really know what that evidence could look like there unless he's coming out with the wildest receipts the internet's ever seen and he drops like a 14,000 word Mick Gordon response. But again, I don't know what his proof could even look like unless he has fairy godparents that could just poof some magic shit into existence, because a lot of the claims have been confirmed by multiple sources. I think the only thing Alan could have is emails between him and Nintendo where Alan maybe fought for Smash World Tour to not be canceled, like maybe he was trying to dissuade Nintendo from taking action against them. He was trying to push them the other direction. Of course, I'm just spitballing here, but I do think it's important to mention that Smash World Tour in their initial statement never explicitly said that Panda was responsible for the shutdown of their world tour. They just pointed out the bad behavior from Alan that messied the water and made it extremely difficult for the Smash World Tour to actually function properly with their communications with Nintendo, and made it a less than optimal environment for this circuit to exist in with how everything was being handled by Alan and Panda. So overall, that section in the Smash World Tour statement that focused on Panda was mainly just shining a light on a history of bad behavior from Alan and how he would leverage that relationship he had with Nintendo against other organizers, like with the threats he had made. So it was just talking about the negative implications from his behavior and how it affected that whole community of tournament organizers and made that whole scene worse behind the scenes. So it was never directly accusing Alan of being the one, like the mastermind behind their shutdown. It was more so just accusing him of being a bad actor that was really acting in their own selfish interests. Not so much being the one that forced Nintendo's hand to shut everyone else down or anything like that. Though of course there are plenty of ways of reading between the lines with Alan's history of using that Nintendo relationship to scare other organizers, like where he basically went to Beyond the Summit and said, might need to get Nintendo involved in this unlicensed event unless you give me broadcasting rights or join the Panda Cup or whatever. Like, you could then say that there was a very real chance that Alan did that again to the Smash World Tour, which eventually led to its shutdown. But that was never a claim Smash World Tour themselves were making. They were never saying Alan was the one that made Nintendo do that. They were just showcasing his bad behavior throughout the months and how it negatively affected the relationship for everyone. So I guess, and this is again just speculating, Alan could come forward with that evidence saying like, no, I never made Nintendo shut Smash World Tour down. I never shut Smash World Tour down. That wasn't me. That's a lie. But again, that was not the claim Smash World Tour themselves were making against Alan. Of course, once again, I'm just throwing darts at a dartboard on what his evidence could look like, but I am extremely excited to see it when he chooses to provide it. I think it's extremely important that we all have a full look at the entire situation from all sides, so that evidence, I think, is extremely important for everyone to see. Hold on, we got some breaking news from the front lines here. Perfect timing. They tweeted this right at the end of that set. Panda's heard the concerns of the Smash community and is taking immediate action. Well, you're wrong. This is not immediate. This is now like 4 or 5 days later. Alan is no longer CEO, effective immediately. In the interim, Panda employees are working with outside advisors to form a temporary interim management committee to act as CEO to navigate this critical time. It is a critical time. Their company is burning. They've lost 80% of their talent. Literally 80% of their salaried players have left or expressed intentions to leave now. So the company would die should that happen. The identities of those in the IMC will not be made public at this time due to concerns over harassment and safety. Fair. The IMC's immediate priorities are work with any team member that desires to resign, including release from any contractual obligations. Good. Support those who feel displaced through these events to find a home, either with Panda or another org. Solid. We call on the community to treat those affected by these events with grace, understanding, and call out and report any attempts of doxing harassment. Additionally, due to security concerns for our staff and contractors, the Panda Cup finale is postponed. Yeah, everyone that was going left. They all went to main stage instead or just outright canceled. So that's probably a good call because it would have been so fucking pathetic to actually watch that broadcast with empty seats and no players. Would have been going to like my 16th birthday party. The IMC will work to ensure or issue refunds to all those who registered, and Panda is committed to demonstrating our dedication to the community and everyone who shares our passion. Panda is committed to doing our part to move the competitive Smash community above and beyond the current situation, starting with an eternal restructure and re-education. That word is always so dystopian, a re-education. It makes it sound like they're going to lobotomize all the employees to our values as members of this community. Had this been their initial statement, I would have believed them more. If they did this first, I don't think they would have lost 80% of their players. Their first statement was like, hey, yeah, Alan went rogue, and man, that was silly, wasn't it? But that's okay. Hey, Panda Cup's gonna fucking eat ass. It's gonna go great. You're gonna get out there and really steam ham. Like, just downplaying the severity of everything and just being really dismissive. That was a terrible response. This should have been their first one. This one's better. Action. Alan's no longer CEO. Okay, makes sense. He literally did his best to bury this company. Oh, a rededication. Oh my god. Oh, I thought that said re-education. A rededication. That's a seldomly used word. I thought it was going to be about employee training or something. Like, remind them why we're in here and, like, why we're in the community. I haven't seen rededication since, probably ever. Yeah, ceremony in which a building or other structures is formally declared for the second, third, etc. time to have a particular purpose to honor a person or group. Alan's still working at Panda, though. Yeah, but even still, this shows action. Forcing him to step down takes away his power to intimidate other orgs, so he can no longer make those threats about shutting down. This just feels like a big panic response, and it's still not like the best action. Whoops. It's still not like the best action they're taking. Like, it is a step in the right direction, but I don't know how they could ever prove they care about the community going forward after what happened. Like, I don't know how they could ever earn that trust back. So I still don't really see a future for Panda events. Now, maybe they'll be able to earn enough trust back to prevent the other 20% of their players from leaving. That I can't really say. That's a personal decision, and I wouldn't hold it against them if they choose to stay with Panda. Because again, in the fighting game community, money is hard to come by. Prize pools for fighting games are actual nothing burgers. You get like cigarettes. You get like a pack of cigarettes, like chat said. So you're not making money in the fighting game community unless you're sponsored. You're just losing money. So anyone that chooses to stay with them, I totally understand. I think the damage has already been done. I don't really think there's a way of healing it. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? You know, as they say. The genie's not going back in the bottle. Had that just been their first response, I think they probably could have saved their company. Who knows? Maybe they still can. Don't think there's a way to save it after the double down. That's what I said. Their first response, I think, was what actually buried them. Had they come out with this more hard-lined approach, I do think they would have had a much better chance. I like I said, I still think it's probably too little too late. I don't know how you really earn back the community's trust after this shit. I really don't know how. I haven't read this yet, so this is going to be breaking for all of us. What is missing from the statement is any mention of Alan divesting his interest in the company. My understanding is Alan owns Panda and basically controls the company. At first blush, this just sounds like damage control and a desperate attempt at grabbing a life draft. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I still think by not being the CEO, he loses most of his power with those like threats he was making, but LD knows far more than I do about this. Now, for those that don't know, LD is with Beyond the Summit. He was one of the people that was directly threatened by Alan. Alan, threatened after not receiving broadcasting rights or BTS joining the Panda Cup, threatened to he slyly said, Nintendo might have to shut this unlicensed event down. Be a real shame if this just came collapsing down. Really getting super villainy with it. So, LD would know far more than I would here. Smash World Tour lied, and Beyond the Summit leadership put the community in jeopardy. That is perhaps one of the douchiest things I have seen. My statement with evidence is coming. Why wouldn't you wait till you had evidence instead of this Twitter... this Tumblr attitude post. So he doesn't even deny threatening them, by the way. He's going to try and justify why he threatened them, saying that their leadership would have jeopardized the community. So I tried to be this saint to extend my bosom for them to suckle in safety. I was doing this for the community. If we let BTS leadership run rampant, the community would have died. At least that's the impression I get. Watch where you're scrolling. Mario is showing his ass in the reply section. Oh, is it Mario Goatsy? I am very excited to see what evidence he has for Smash World Tour lying. Considering they have the statements in writing from Nintendo, and multiple orgs have confirmed Alan having repeated behavior about making those threats. I'm very curious to see. Maybe he has some wild receipts. Maybe. But he should have waited to post those instead of this. Anything but this. Who had a worse response to Backlash, Alan or Helena Taylor? I just can't really consider this Alan's response. Helena Taylor tried to weasel her way out of that situation. Alan's he did 2 bullet points saying, it's a lie, and the other people are bad leaders. Smash World Tour, unjustly shut down, an absolute sin, an affront to God. It was a very awful thing that happened recently. The Smash World Tour, the biggest circuit the professional Smash Brothers scene has ever seen, biggest prize pool, and it was supposed to happen in a couple weeks, but the night before Thanksgiving, the tournament organizers got an email from Nintendo that basically implied it needs to be shut down. Now they came out with their statement, and it also implicated an organization named Panda as being an accomplice to Nintendo. In fact, perhaps even the main big bad raid boss behind the scenes that had a history over the last year of them working with Nintendo of trying to strong-arm other tournaments into joining the Panda Cup circuit, which was a competing circuit. And the CEO of Panda, his name is Alan, he made these threats to other organizations when they wouldn't join him, saying, it'd be a real shame if this got shut down, if Nintendo had to get involved with your unlicensed event. You sure you don't want to join Panda? You positive? It's safe over here. Suckle on our bosom. We'll keep you safe. And he'd just make these threats. So, when Smash World Tour got the bad news, they blew the lid on Panda, specifically Alan's behavior. Not really Panda as a whole, it was focused on Alan. It's been 2 days since that bombshell, and now we finally have a statement from Nintendo and a statement from Panda. And they're both so fucking weak. They are pathetic. They're pitiful. Very wimpy stuff. They basically keep saying that what they did is they didn't accept their license. They said that they didn't meet the criteria for their health and safety regulations, which is so weird. Like the health and safety rules they were saying Smash World Tour didn't meet, so they couldn't grant a license for. And I have to wonder what that means. Like, what are the health and safety things? Like, they provide a venue, they provide everything a human being needs to survive, except, like, bulletproof vests, I guess, just in case things get rowdy. Like, I don't know what they expect. It's not like Panda Cup does anything special in that regard. So it seems like a bunch of fucking nonsense. Because of COVID or something? Well, even then, that still wouldn't work. Oh, this is part of Panda Cup. It's even branded on Panda Cup's YouTube page. Yeah, you're right. Regardless, it doesn't seem like this would be the cause for the health and safety concerns about the masks. Yeah, it looks like masks aren't required. Like, Breezy wasn't wearing a mask here. So, I don't think it's like a mask thing. I don't think it's COVID protocol. It just seems like they looked for any excuse imaginable to slap Smash World Tour down or not give them the license. But yeah, they basically... So they tried to, like, wipe their hands of it and say, no, we're pretty innocent here. We didn't grant them a license, but we said they could still run their tournament. Which is a little misleading, because since Smash World Tour was directly communicating with Nintendo, the statement was the days of unlicensed events is over, that time is over or something, that time is gone. I can't remember the exact quote. And also, this is the biggest load of dog shit I've seen all day. Nintendo cares about Super Smash Bros. Fans and its community very much. We hope to continue to hear their passionate feedback. That was so baloney that my voice cracked even reading it. My vocal folds couldn't even get through that sentence without some kind of hiccup in there. Absolute nonsense. What a load of dirty barnacles. Nobody cares less about the Smash Brothers scene than Nintendo. The amount of times they'll pull their pants down just to drop their ass on it last minute to shut things down is baffling. And there's a statement coming on the back of them shutting down the biggest one right before it happened. The statement boils down to Nintendo saying, it was a misunderstanding. We didn't grant them a license for 2022 or 2023, which is a weird thing to say because Smash World Tour didn't ask for a license for 2023. They didn't submit an application for that. So this is truly coming out of nowhere. And then they said that they verbally let them know that they weren't requiring they cancel the finals because of the impact it would have on the players. Which is not exactly faithful to the events, because they made the statement verbally that the days of unlicensed events or whatever, that time is gone. So by declining their license for 2022, the implication is, okay, so we can't do this. You're gonna shut our shit down. Which is how this all happened. So it's just not a very strong statement from Nintendo. It doesn't really shed light on anything other than their incompetence and inability to work with the community or clearly convey messages and information. I'd like to briefly explain this a bit deeper. So, Smash World Tour throughout the circuit was in direct communication with Nintendo and had their unofficial blessing to continue. It wasn't an official license or a partnership like that, but they had like the nod of approval to continue without intervention. It was something they were completely okay with having the Panda Cup and the Smash World Tour run at the same time. And it was all well and good until shit got stinky. The Nintendo representative they were communicating with verbally told them that the days of unlicensed events and tournaments were days that were now behind them, and then they received in writing a notice that they were not receiving a license for the Smash World Tour. Thus, connecting these two dots leads them and anyone with a brain to believe that they are being shut down, which is something Nintendo has done before with Big House, and in a pretty similar way as I understand it. So that's how Smash World Tour got axed by Nintendo. And the statement from Nintendo about what they verbally said to the tournament organizers isn't actually accurate to what was conveyed to them. They received entirely different information from the representative, and in the Smash World Tour official statement about the situation, they debunk that claim. What they say contradicts Nintendo's statement. And of course, it's a huge deal because the Smash World Tour is the biggest tournament the Smash scene has ever had, and it's going to cost the tournament organizers thousands upon thousands of dollars out of their own pockets, as well as the players that were attending. So it's just a big fucking disaster. This Panda one, it would have been better if they actually just printed a blank document with the Panda logo at the bottom. I stole that little comment there from someone down here. I don't want to scroll too far because I saw Council of Cox earlier on Twitter and now I'm a little afraid. Someone edited this and it was just a blank page with this logo, and that was a better response. This is so trash. It is so trash. They suck their own dick. They talk about like, oh, we provide the, resources, expertise to help with a lot of majors. We're really community focused. We want to build the best community ever and the best events. And there's no greed on our side. We just want Smash to fuck ass. Like, that's what we want. And then they very briefly, very flippantly acknowledge that their CEO went full-blown, like, Winter Soldier over here. In the Smash World Tour statement, there are a number of accusations leveled against Dr. Allen, the CEO of Panda. In reality, Dr. Allen, as Nintendo of America has corroborated, has been one of the more vocal supporters of the broader community and the Smash World Tour organizers in internal conversations. However, the Panda Cup team does acknowledge and regret an interaction between Dr. Allen and Beyond the Summit. That's referring to the now very public threat that Allen made against Beyond the Summit, saying if they don't give him broadcasting rights or join Panda, he might have to get Nintendo involved and shut them down. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but that was the overall message he delivered. It was posted by one of the tournament organizers from Beyond the Summit, and they're acknowledging it briefly, in which he spoke in a manner which did not reflect either guidance from Nintendo or our own standards. Panda took efforts to rectify the situation immediately, and in the second half of the year, a dedicated team made up of multiple staff members was assembled to manage Panda Cup activities and serve as a primary point of contact for event runners, removing the possibility of future miscommunications from occurring. The fact that they label that a miscommunication and not a blatant attempt at strong-arming the grassroots organization is fucked. And that's the only acknowledgement they have of this whole soap opera. This was not the only time Dr. Allen had done this. Other orgs came forward as well. Other TOs came forward. Golden Guardians also talked a little bit about Dr. Allen in another tweet, and they just kind of brush it off with no sympathy or any care whatsoever. And then they finish it with Panda Cup team has invested thousands of hours towards making sure this year's cup has been as strong an offering as we can provide, and we look forward to continuing to build alongside the communities we serve a promising future for Smash. And there's no future for Panda. So most people are abandoning ship from Panda right now. IBDW, who's one of the top 3 players in the world for Melee, is now a free agent. It seems like most Panda players are abandoning. Like, this shit is sinking. Like, this is a disaster. I don't know how this group goes forward anymore. It seems like Panda's kind of dead now from the actions of their CEO. And in none of this did they make any kind of clarification or talk about their involvement with these less than appropriate business actions. Instead, they just default to gargling the asshole of Nintendo, saying, look at what Nintendo said. They're right about it. That's what happened. It's just a misunderstanding. It was about licensing, and Smash World Tour just, we never wanted to shut them down. We were surprised as you guys. We were fucking shocked. We couldn't believe our eyes. Even if Panda is dead, can Grassroots still operate due to Nintendo now? That we don't know. I will say, I should have left their statement up so we can go back and forth. I will say one thing from this statement that gives me some sense of optimism, though I know this is misplaced because it's Nintendo and their motto is we rub our ass with optimism. They made this statement. Even to the point, almost highlighted the wrong one. Oh, it's the first sentence here. We are open to partnering with other organizations and will continue to offer licensing for major tournaments outside of the Panda Cup. Christ. It was so unbelievable my eyes couldn't even register it when I looked back on it. Yeah, so that statement right there gives me some level of hope that they seem open to working with the community. But that's, of course, just fluff. Until they prove that, I have no reason to put any amount of faith in the statement. that could just be there for some corporate pandering, then why didn't they license Smash World Tour? Exactly. The health and safety concerns of the fans, I suppose. I don't know. It literally means nothing. And they say it's important that the partner adheres to brand and IP guidelines and conducts itself according to professional and organizational best practices. Meanwhile, they partnered with the Smash Bros. Mafia with Alan at Panda Cup. Like, this is nothing. This doesn't make any sense. If they're open to partnering with other orgs, Smash World Tour was literally the most reliable and most well-respected. VGBC has the most goodwill in the entire community. Well, on par with, like, Summit. Beyond the Summit. If the issue was health, why would they not say, hey, this is the issue, fix it? I don't know, because they probably couldn't think of anything. like, what do you mean? The health and safety of fans at a Smash Bros. Tournament? Like, the worst thing that could happen there is someone passes out from extreme odor. And that's, like, it's not like Panda solved that problem or anything. Like, what do you... There's nothing. They didn't have anything. And for what it's worth, when I went to Low Tide in person, it really didn't smell bad. In fact, I was probably the smelliest person there because I hadn't showered in the last 24 hours and was about to go on a 20-hour road trip and had already spent 4 hours in a car. I was probably like the Methodist that blew through. So I don't know if that stigma's still around. I don't know if that's like normal where it doesn't smell like shit. Couldn't tell you. But when I went, it really wasn't too bad. Yeah, the Smash World Tour is canceled, and there's really nothing they could do to like make it happen now. It's way too late. This happened the night before Thanksgiving and only a couple weeks out from the championships. Like, there's no way they could put it on anymore. But that brings us to the next point. Ludwig came in here slinging a little bit of meat. So, Ludwig said in response to the Panda Nintendo lackluster, or in response to the Nintendo and lackluster statement from I just had a glitch there. In response to Panda and Nintendo's lackluster statements, Ludwig is hosting his own impromptu tournament, hoping to pretty much overshadow Panda, take some wind out of their sails. So he's doing a big prize pool, and he's invited the top 8 from the Smash World Tour rankings. That, of course, includes Light. Unfortunately, Cole is not top 8. I think he's number 10, so he didn't make the invitation, which is a shame, which he would have for Smash World Tour. But it's still great that he's doing this, regardless. The new Smash World Tour statement directly contradicts Nintendo. Oh, I know, I already mentioned that. What Nintendo and Panda is stating was not the reality of what Smash World Tour was told, nor what they received in writing. So it's nothing from Nintendo and Panda. They've done a terrible job. Yep, that is the reality of the situation. Alan got greedy, wanting a little monopoly on Smash tournaments, or at least, at the very least, a Smash circuit, and in doing so may have burned his entire company to the ground. Because Panda, without their players, and without players to play in their tournaments, they have nothing. There's always going to be someone willing to accept to play. I would agree with you in any other scene, but Smash Bros, you get like actual lollipop sticks for a prize. So it's not like there's a huge monetary incentive to compete. The reason you compete is because you want to be the best, or you want to support your local scene. And if you don't like the org that's putting on the tournament, it's not like you have a big incentive to go there and play for fucking $15. Like, you're not going to bother if you don't like that company. Over the last year, Smash has been eating good from their tournaments, with people like Ludwig, Summit popping off. Like, they've had big prize pools, but that's not the norm. That is far from the norm. I feel like there's no company that hates its own user base more than Nintendo. It feels like every decision they make outside of game development decisions is always so bafflingly evil for no reason. It feels like they go out of their way to spit in the face of the people that play their games. You know how, like, the Heart Attack Grill, you get spanked by your waitress if you don't finish all your food? That's Nintendo. They spank you for just wanting to enjoy the games they produce. There's just a laundry list of awful things Nintendo does for seemingly no good reason. Like, for 20 years now, they've been locked in a war against the Smash Brothers community, just going full scorched earth and randomly shutting down grassroots tournaments left and right for 20 years, even though it's just a gathering of people playing their game at a high level. Like, that's not hurting anyone. Nintendo's made another wildly awful decision that goes against the community that enjoys their games, and I want to get very deep into it because it's one that I'm extremely passionate about. It's again them shitting on the Smash Brothers scene, but this time they're not alone. Nintendo had an accomplice, and in fact, the Nintendo sidekick may have actually been the greater villain in this story. As most of you know, Moist Esports started in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with Cola, so it's obviously a community I'm super passionate about. And it's been a community that's been severely neglected and shit on by Nintendo for 20 years now. They've shown no support and they've actively gone out of the way to shut down tournaments. They don't actually contribute anything to the professional scene in any capacity whatsoever. They're very hands-off and they really don't seem to like professional Smash Brothers, and never have. But not too long ago, Panda, which is an FGC organization, they're not just in Smash, but they're mainly known for Smash, they announced that they're partnering with Nintendo for the first time ever. Nintendo is directly partnering with a organization to put on high-level Smash tournaments. Everyone was excited, everyone was celebrating, like, holy shit, Nintendo's finally getting involved. It looks like they're finally going to support the professional Smash scene. This is amazing. I was one of those people. I thought that was super hype. I thought that was great for the scene. Fast forward to today. There is something called the Smash World Tour, which is a labor of love put on by the community, mainly VGBC, Video Game Boot Camp, and it's reaching its conclusion. The Smash World Tour is by far the biggest Smash tournament that has ever happened, like circuit-wise. So the Smash World Tour is what people have been competing for an entire year. It's about to wrap up, and right before Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, VGBC gets a notice from Nintendo that they have to shut it all down. They get a cease and desist. A classic Nintendo maneuver. They basically invented cease and desist. They would cease and desist a fucking 4-year-old's birthday party if you had a Mario plushie there. They are ruthless. So at the very end, our players, for example, already had flights ready for Smash World Tour here. Like, everyone was fully in. Like, everyone thought it was still happening. Everyone on the organizer side also thought so as well, until the day before Thanksgiving, they said, nope, no siree. Because Nintendo refuses to allow, like, grassroots tournaments or anything like that. Yet, this came out from VGBC, where it is revealed that the Smash World Tour did have the nod from Nintendo. While they didn't officially license it or get behind it in official capacity, they were in direct communication the entire time with Smash World Tour. They were talking directly to Nintendo. They had their blessing, albeit not a fully licensed blessing, but they had their permission to run that while they also ran the Panda Cup, which is their official one in conjunction with Panda. And then out of nowhere, they got this. They got absolutely fucking slapped. They had to shut it down. So they made the announcement today that the Smash World Tour it's dead. And then they have this in here, which seems to be that it was a Panda decision, not so much a Nintendo decision to do this. While Nintendo is obviously at fault, this paints a picture of the head of Panda, his name's Alan, wanting kind of like a monopoly on Smash. Since now he works directly with Nintendo, it seems like he wanted to strong-arm himself to being the only official tournament, and all the other ones he was trying to scare and intimidate and threaten with shutdown. So I wanted to read this with all of you, because it's bad. It's a terrible look. This is a terrible look if all of this is true. And it seems like it is because one of the BTS Beyond the Summit TOs, one of the head TOs, came out to confirm that what was said in here is accurate about Alan, Panda, the head of Panda, being an absolute supervillain here. So it's looking like there's a lot of evidence to point to this being like an honest explanation for how the Smash World Tour ended up going from being okay by Nintendo standards to being wiped on the fucking pavement, like actually curb stomped. So I just wanted to read this and then go over it a bit more. That's kind of like the cliff notes to speedrun the lore on how we got here. It's an absolute shame because the Smash World Tour is just, it was an incredible thing. Highest prize pool for the whole circuit, the biggest circuit ever done. It's international, so they had talent from all across the world competing, and it was finally going to wrap up in a massive, extremely fun way. And then all of this happened. Fucking tragedy. So here. Around the same time, Panda Cup began heavily recruiting events for their circuit. The CEO continued to tell organizers we would be getting shut down shortly, and also added that any events that participated in the Panda Cup would not be allowed to be on the Smash World Tour. This exclusivity surprised us not only because of our Nintendo conversations regarding coexisting, but also because we were not exclusive. And even back in January, we told organizers that they could be on both with zero issues from us. This is in reference to the Smash World Tour. Smash World Tour said that, hey, you can be part of our circuit and also be anywhere else you want to be. Totally fine. Very pro-community. Panda, not so much. At first, Panda targeted events that were not on the Smash World Tour, including those who did not join because of the aforementioned warnings. A few of those events had broadcast deals with popular tournament broadcasters like Beyond the Summit, and the CEO of Panda wanted broadcasting rights to be included as part of the deal of these events joining the Panda Cup. Most of the events refused to break their contracts, so Panda approached Beyond the Summit directly to try and get the rights released. BTS had very little motivation to give up the broadcasting rights for free, so they declined to get involved, causing the CEO of Panda to escalate things quickly, and we were told that he made a variety of threats to Beyond the Summit, including shutting down their entire Smash organization in 2023 if they didn't eventually join Panda Cup. After BTS held firm, the CEO of Panda warned that they would get Nintendo directly involved, putting broadcasting rights for all tournaments in jeopardy. So, this is the CEO of Panda, Alan, twirling his evil little mustache and his greed getting the best of him. So like Mr. Krabs with dollar signs in his eyes, he says, if you don't join us, we're going to get Big Daddy Nintendo, whom we're sucking the ass of, to shut you down. And that's exactly what's happened to the Smash World Tour. Now, this does call into question, will all grassroots big tournaments now face the wrath of Panda and Nintendo? Are they going to bully every single grassroots one? Or only the ones they deem a threat, like Beyond the Summit or VGBC? That I have no idea on at the moment. Panda hasn't commented as of right now, but it's pretty fucking bad. Now, I think it's very important. Like I said, they weren't officially licensed with Nintendo, the Smash World Tour, but they did have like open communication where it was kind of like a wink wink, this is okay kind of thing. Like, we know about it, we're okay with it, go for it, we can coexist. But only one of them was officially licensed by Nintendo, and they never had a problem until it seemed like Alan had a problem. So, absolutely tragic for the community. No, like, there is a big fuck Nintendo thing here, because if they would just fucking support the community besides just going with, like, the Panda Mafia, this would have never been an issue. This would have legitimately never been an issue to begin with. But because they're so deeply in bed with Panda now, I guess Alan's whispering in their ear about, like, his competition that he's not happy with. At least that's how it reads. And he's made threats, which, again, have been confirmed over here, even outside of this document. This is a totally different organization. This is BTS that's confirming the same things that VGBC stated. So it seems like he just went on a bit of a rampage. Now, I think there is also, I've seen this theory tossed around, I think there also is a reality where the CEO of Panda tried to puff out his chest and, you know, flex on the community that now Nintendo's backing them, so trying to scare Beyond the Summit. But Nintendo never listened to him, didn't take him seriously, maybe viewed him as a clown. But he was so bad to work with that maybe Nintendo just got soured on the whole experience of being in the pro scene, that they're shutting everything down, and once they're done with the contract with Panda for their Panda Cup, maybe they never touch it again. I think that's also a very real possibility where Alan didn't influence their decision to shut everything down by telling them to. He influenced it by just being miserable to work with. So they were like, fuck this, we're just gonna shut everything down and go nuclear. I think that's also possible. So we're boycotting the Panda tournament? I personally am, yeah. One other thing that I just learned about from the subreddit, I think it was Leffen that brought it to light, and Moki also confirmed, when you got invited to the Panda Cup, you had to sign an exclusivity contract confirming that you will be going. That you absolutely will be going. So they made you sign a contract commitment. Hate to say it, but players should find a new game in esports org to stop supporting the Nintendo. Yeah, I've seen that take as well. It's not even a bad take. Like, it is so hard to defend Smash at the pro scene, at like pro level, when Nintendo can just freely do this and openly does it pretty often. And now you have like an inside man here at Panda, Alan, who is actively going against the community as well. Like, it's just a fucking mess. Does this mean light is dropped? What? No, we're not dropping any of our players or anything. What? No. What this means is our players that were going to the Smash World Tour Championship are no longer, because it doesn't fucking exist now. Nintendo and Panda shut it down. Now, like I said, Panda still hasn't made a statement. Alan hasn't said anything. Maybe they have a different view of these events, but it's been confirmed by two very reputable sources. And I did have a call with VGBC, like everyone on board, as well as SmashCon, that also echoed these same things about Panda in particular and how this all happened with the Smash World Tour. So I did know this was coming at some point today. I just didn't know it was this bad. The only tournaments are Panda and you're boycotting. How will you keep the Smash players signed? Well, it's not just me, man. No one wants, like, assuming all this is true, which again, there's a lot of evidence to point to it being accurate, no one's going to want to compete for Panda. And like I said, since we still don't know if this means they're going to shut down all grassroots competition, it seems unlikely they would. There'll still be other tournaments, but there's not another tournament with the same level of competition that the Smash World Tour offered. So it's still a huge blow regardless. And since everyone already had their flights and everything booked, it's a massive fucking financial burden as well for players. Of course, Moist Esports paid for all that, so luckily that doesn't affect our players personally, but not every player in Smash is signed. In fact, most of them aren't. So they probably just lost a ton of money booking all of this and now having to cancel. So you just lost a ton of money. Yeah, well, that's esports in a nutshell. Like, that is what it is. I'm just more upset about our players not being able to compete at Smash World Tour. I don't feel we know the truth yet. Like I said, we still need to hear from Panda and Alan in particular, since it seems like it's mainly Alan. We still need to hear from them. I just don't see a world where somehow every other major org had the same experience here, with Alan in particular. I don't see how that could somehow be like a smear campaign, a lie. Like, none of that really checks out, especially because there was direct communication with Nintendo the entirety of the Smash World Tour until all of a sudden they decided to cancel it out of the blue, or cease and desist it out of the blue.
Think I'm being dramatic? You might want to keep listening.
Like I said, that's still uncertain, but it's not impossible. There is still no telling if all of grassroots organizations will be shut down by Nintendo going forward because of this whole Panda thing or not. We don't know, but it is possible. It is very possible.
Because you've seen a video about 10 people getting really upset about the ice climbers, which I uploaded, and it's one of my most viewed videos.
A classic video to be sure, but he's also neglecting to mention where you've also probably seen it with the Salty Smash moments. Salty Smash moments have like fucking 60 entries now, and they're all golden. I still think Smash Rage is some of the best in all of gaming. It's so huge. It's such a massive explosion, and it's always enjoyable. So not just the Ice Climber moments. Salty Smash moments in general, I think most people know.
Now, Alan has been running Panda and also wanted this.
Real quick, let's double check to see if Alan has said anything. Since, again, he is the one that's kind of named and shamed in the document. Let's see if he's come out with his side of the story, or if that's going to be a little bit longer in the oven, cooking that up. Still nothing. His most recent one is, Peach being a baller was my favorite. Talking about the Nintendo Direct Mario trailer. Any minute now, though, he might drop some heat.
Canceled. Why? Well, their event is officially licensed by Nintendo.
First time ever,
now,
by the way.
On the surface, you might
Huge.
just think to yourself, well, okay, Nintendo licensed this one, but didn't license this one. It's Nintendo back at it again. They just don't understand the community, and they decided to go with one event, even though they should have gone with both. Now, it's not a shocker that Nintendo would cancel an event. It's happened many times in the past, usually to large public outcry that sometimes overturns their decision. But this is not as simple as...
Wait, when has that ever happened? When they canceled Big House, there was a massive uproar, and I don't think they ever overturned that, did they? Wait, when has Nintendo ever overturned their decision in the history? Evo 2013 is the last time they overturned their decision. Almost 10 years ago? Holy shit. I'm just surprised it's ever happened even once.
And the way it's worked for 20 years is that we have kind of just run tournaments and done our own thing and got no help from Nintendo. And Nintendo makes games and movies with Chris Pratt and does their own thing, and we don't mix.
That's not true. They mix sometimes, but always negatively. They will usually just step in and say, don't do that. We're shutting you down right before it starts. Like, instead of shutting something down at the inception of it, they wait till it's about to happen. It seems so mean, like almost done on purpose. Like, they will wait for like the week before the event is supposed to happen, be like, actually, we changed our mind. You guys can suck our fucking nuts on it. Shut it down. No, really, shut it down.
But recently, Nintendo has been getting into the habit of approving events, licensing events, like the Panda Cup. Now, people were a little nervous about that because they thought, well, okay, maybe this is a bad thing because if they're licensing events, what will happen to the events that aren't licensed? Are those events going to suddenly get canceled? No, we thought back in the day when we were young and naive.
True.
But
I am guilty of that as well. I really thought so.
Yes. Any event that's not licensed by Nintendo might just get outright canceled. And, well, apparently, what was happening is Alan, the CEO and co-founder of Panda, was going around to different tournaments that were meant to be a part of the circuit, different regional organizers, and saying, hey, just so you guys know, you guys are organizing an event, and it's supposed to be part of the Smash World Tour. I would not personally do that, because that event is going to get shut down, and they're not going to come back in 2020.
God, such a rat. Such a fucking rat.
Which is kind of a weird thing to do. And those Nintendo directs or execs reminded them that Nintendo is not shutting down anything unless it infringes on IP with game mods, and that for
those that are unaware, that was the main reason they shut down Big House, because it's Slippy. Slippy is a mod on an emulator, and they were very upset about that. It's to play Melee on an emulator, so that way it's like actual great netcode with rollback. Nintendo wasn't having it, so they shut it down and blamed game mods. But in this case, it's just playing the actual fucking game. It's just like actually playing the base fucking game, normally all above board, by the numbers, by the books. So they couldn't fall back on that, and they're just straight shutting it down because looks like Alan doesn't want competition and wants a monopoly on tournament hosting. Panda players are all coming out as blindsided. Well, obviously the players had no fucking say-so. They didn't know Alan was going rogue behind the scenes like some kind of espionage agent trying to sabotage the community from the inside. Like, how the fuck would any of the players know that? Clearly, all the players are on the community's side. They didn't have any hand in Alan making these outrageously stupid decisions here.
The CEO of Panda escalated things and made a variety of threats to be on the summit, including threatening to shut down their entire Smash operation in 2023 if they did not join the Panda Cup. Beyond the Summit held firm. They said, fuck that shit. The CEO of Panda warned them.
Great move from Beyond the Summit.
Involved. My dad works at Nintendo, says Alan. He will seriously mess your shit up if you don't work with us. You have to be my friend. And the person at Nintendo directly told them those times are over.
Yep. A bold statement.
There is no longer a way to run Smash events unless they are licensed by Nintendo directly.
It's not 100% confirmed. Like I said, that's not like put in the books. It's not etched in the tablets of time yet. It seems like that might be the future, but VGBC as well as like SmashCon do feel optimistic that grassroots tournaments will still exist, and this is more just an Alan thing that forced Nintendo's hand. Like, he pushed them to it. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Either way, though, fat fucking L for Panda. And Nintendo, obviously. But Ludwig hasn't mentioned it yet. I mentioned it. I'll mention it again. It's not like Smash World Tour was doing this without Nintendo knowing. Like, this was even beyond the normal understanding of, we'll do this and look the other way. Nintendo was aware this was happening and gave them, like, the okay that your Smash World Tour can coexist with our Panda Cup. They knew about it, and they were okay with it for this entire duration until the very end here. You think Nintendo will say something? Absolutely fucking not, but Panda will have to. Panda will say something. Nintendo will never once address this in the entire history of the fucking company's career, or lifetime. They never do, never will, but Panda's going to absolutely have to. Panda is an FGC-based organization that is such a tight-knit community. Even if you don't play Smash, all of their Panda players are going to be questioning if staying with them is the right move for optics, because the FGC is just so intertwined with each other. So Panda's gonna have to, Nintendo never will. I am very curious to see what Panda says. Be surprised. You might be surprised. They just might if it's this big. I just don't think so. I don't see any world where Nintendo addresses something like this. Nintendo addresses an impersonation account that tweeted out a picture of Mario giving them the finger. But they won't address like actual things like this. Did they ever say anything about the Big House uproar? Because that was a big one. That had a whole lot of community pushback, a whole lot of community outrage. I don't think they ever said anything. I guess maybe this could be different since they're directly involved with Panda Cup. I could possibly see it. But even then, I just doubt it. I just really doubt it. I really feel bad for all the Panda staff, players, and casters caught up with this and no communication. Of course, you have to. The community seems to understand that the players and Alan are two very distinct, different camps within Panda, as well as like staff and casters. Like those are so far removed from what Alan was doing with his fucking mob protection racket of you should join because, well, you might get shut down if you're unlicensed. You know, just might be a little weird out there. Might be sleeping with the fishes if you're not in Panda Cup. Like that is a exclusively Alan thing.
Because someone at Panda, aka Alan, was strong-arming a connection he had Nintendo to shut down any event that was not his own.
For what it's worth, the idea of having one true circuit in and of itself isn't a bad thing. If it's backed by Nintendo, that's not a bad thing. What's bad is the fact that he is actively going out and intimidating all the grassroots ones and actually like shutting them down. That's the problem. Like having a fully sanctioned, like authentic circuit is a cool thing. Like the one true Nintendo-backed cup that means the most. That's a cool thing. But you don't need to go and just start like fucking beef stewing all of the grassroots ones that built the community in the first place.
Am I going to be able to run a Smash event in the future? Every single Smash...
Should this be the case where the times are truly behind us, where Nintendo will not allow grassroots to happen... Yeah, Lud would never be able to run another, like, Lud Invitational, which is a fucking shame, because that was a great event. That would be the future of it. You might have locals, I think locals would still exist, but anything with viewership, Nintendo would probably shut down.
Event I have run has...
If Smash does that, I think the Smash esports scene goes away. Yeah. I think it would absolutely vanish. I don't see how it would survive. If all the grassroots majors and everything get shut down and only Panda Cup is left, no one's going to want to watch it because of this, and none of the players are going to want to play in it because of this. Like, it really would probably ruin the whole scene. Does that just hand the player base to Multiversus? I don't know where they'd go. There's nothing direct, like a direct successor or anything to Smash. There's other games that are similar, like you have Multiversus, you have Brawlhalla, Rivals of Aether, but none of those are like Smash. They're not one-to-one. I don't know where they'd go.
That the people who are running the Smash events aren't exactly rich. In fact, the only way to get rich is to leave the Smash scene. Something I've always known.
That is so fucking
there's
true.
Been a few people who have spoken out.
Yeah, that is so. In esports, it is well known amongst most of the orgs that going into the FGC is just like financial hemorrhaging. You don't make any returns in the FGC for the most part, save for some like very rare cases of like actual superstars that become like a bit transcendent of the FGC. But as a whole, that is a community of pros that don't actually make the orgs any money. So when you see an org in there, I always have respect, because it's like, okay, they're there because someone in that pipeline likes that game, likes that community, likes that space, because they're not making shit off it. They're not making anything off it. FGC means fighting game community, yeah. Fighting game community is FGC. I am curious, though. Where do you make that hoopla? In 2013, Twitter wasn't nearly as big. So where did that outrage reach? How did Nintendo see it? Because they don't really see Twitter or anything. They ignore, like, everything on Twitter. A great example of that is Pokemon Scarlet Violet. All of the bugs, glitches, and everything. Nintendo has never publicly acknowledged how broken that game is, like in the state that it's in, like with the performance problems and everything. But they are issuing refunds because they know it, but they're not addressing it. So where do you get their attention to make them actually address it? Does it have to be Twitter, or do they have like something else? I really don't know. And in 2013, I don't think it was Twitter. It had to be like Facebook or something. It had to have just gone like crazy on Facebook. Got to be actual news outlets. Yeah, but I don't think, especially not in 2013. I highly doubt fucking New York Times or Wall Street Journal was writing about Smash Brothers at Evo. So I don't think it was actual news outlets. It was a breast cancer charity, and we donated $100K in total. So was it the amount of money the Smash community was able to raise to get like the attention of Nintendo? Is that what it was? Not so much the like outrage, just more so here's how passionate we are and here's what we're doing to show it that got their attention? You talk like 2013 was the Stone Ages. It was super different. Like it really was. 2013 internet was a completely different landscape than what it currently is. And it's not even close. Because like I said, I don't feel Nintendo actually looks at anything that's on Twitter or anything about their brand anywhere. Like, I don't know how you'd even get their attention. You'd need Alan. You need Alan to have a change of heart and be like, guys, I fucked up. Hey, this is on me. This was a stupid decision. I fucked up. Can you please let Smash World Tour happen again? This was fucking dumb, and I may have just sank my whole company. Just toss me a goddamn bone, please. Like, you'd need someone on, like, the actual inside of Nintendo here to try and, like, lobby for it. Need the Phantom Thieves, bro. True. Without Smash, there would be no Moist Esports. Full stop. It is a community I'm very passionate about, so I also hope we can salvage this situation. What about Rocket League? No, I'm saying, like, if Smash didn't exist, like, the Smash Pro scene didn't exist as the grassroots organizations it's always been, there would have been no Moist Esports. I'm not saying, like, if this all goes through, I'm shutting down Moist Esports. I'm saying it wouldn't exist had this decision been made, like, 2 years ago. Yeah, fucking awful situation, though, man. I really, really hope there's some kind of positive conclusion to this. I just don't even know what that would look like here because I have no faith in Nintendo themselves. I don't know Alan well enough to know if he'll do anything positive here. I really can't imagine what he'll say, but I very much would like to see the Panda side come forward with this situation. It's insane that people just want to play the game. I know. I don't get the war that Nintendo wages on grassroots orgs. Like, you don't make money in the Smash scene. They're not even profiting off your IP. They're doing it because they love the fucking game. The whole pro space is net loss across the board, except for like your top tier pro players who make like a big salary or have like external brand deals. But like they're not like these tournaments aren't like stealing your IP and profiting from your fucking tournaments they run. They just lose money on it. It's just such a weird war, and it gets people talking about like Smash Ultimate, like that they still sell Smash Ultimate for $60. I just got it for Tiana for Black Friday, and the deal that they were doing for Black Friday on Smash Ultimate was $9 off, so $51. Like they're still selling it at almost full price, and having these tournaments puts it in people's minds and like, oh fuck, like this is cool. Melee is 20 years old now. Like, there's just no reason they should even be bothering to, like, try and enforce that, because it's a 20-year-old game. Just let people play it how they want. It's not like Nintendo's making tons of money off fucking Smash Melee. Makes no sense. And Ultimate, like, it's only good for them. They are not making money from running these fucking tournaments off the back of your IP. Nintendo doesn't like adults playing their games. I know, isn't that crazy? I don't even know if it's necessarily adults playing their games. They just don't like their games to be competitive. Like, that's not a secret. They openly say they don't really like that their games are competitive. They just want to be fun party games, which they are, but they also do have a layer of depth that makes them fun competitively. Like, I don't know why you can't just have your cake and eat it too. Okay, while I was tinkling, I saw something very interesting on Twitter. And this time it wasn't just more OnlyFans promotions. Check this shit out. Now, it comes from a source I legitimately couldn't have less faith in being reliable, but this is still something worth noting. So according to Kotaku, They said, after giving the same deep consideration we apply to any potential partner, this is a spokesperson for Nintendo, which I don't think that exists to begin with, but I digress. We were unable to come to an agreement with Smash World Tour for a full circuit in 2023. Nintendo did not request any changes to or cancellation of remaining events in 2022, including the 2022 championship event, considering the negative impact on the players who are already planning to participate. So they are claiming, the spokesperson that is, that Nintendo did not cancel Smash World Tour. I don't really know if I believe that, though. Would that then mean it was somehow all Alan who then told the Nintendo rep that isn't this guy to tell Smash World Tour to cancel it, and Nintendo themselves had no clue? I don't really know what this means. This is Kotaku. I think they are extraordinarily unreliable in very, very many situations. But this is worth keeping in the back of the mind. I would be far more inclined to trust the Smash World Tour statement since they'd been in direct contact with Nintendo for so long. And this is a Kotaku source, nameless spokesperson. I guess in like the most generous of interpretations of this information, what could be happening is Nintendo backpedaling and like, no, we didn't want them to cancel it. They can still do it for sure, please. That's possible, I guess, but I even find that much to be unlikely. What's going to happen to the players sponsored by VG Bootcamp like AMSA? VG Bootcamp's not going away. They've lost the Smash World Tour, and also Glitch Double Down are also canceled, but it's not like that whole company is folding or anything. Like, they're not dead. I guess he thought people would think his claims have authority and never question it. I guess. I have no idea. I think he's a bit cranky. Do I think there'll be an apology video? No. I don't know Alan super well. My guess, though, based on this behavior, he's going to come out with something like the truth, or it's time you know what really happened, and use all kinds of deflectionary techniques to placate all of this. That's my guess. I don't think he's going to own up to it or take any responsibility or shed any real light on the situation. 2 minutes ago, a short follow-up regarding Nintendo's response. Okay, so this is fucking fresh. Here. It is about the Kotaku thing we just pulled up. Didn't expect to address this, but Nintendo's response via Kotaku has been brought to our attention, and that's what I already showed. We're unsure why they're taking this angle, especially in light of the greater statement and all that it contains. And then here's the original statement. We received this statement in writing from Nintendo shortly after our call. It is Nintendo's expectation that an approved license be secured in order to operate any commercial activity featuring Nintendo IP. It is also expected to secure such a license well in advance of any public announcement. After further review, we found that Smash World Tour has not met these expectations around health and safety guidelines and has not adhered to our internal partner guidelines. Nintendo will not be able to grant a license for Smash World Tour 2022 or any Smash World Tour activity in 2023. To be clear, we did not even submit an application for 2023. The application was for 2022. Nintendo including all 2023 activity was an addition we were not even expecting. In our call that accompanied this statement, we asked multiple times if we'd be able to continue to operate without a license as we had in years past with the same unofficial understanding with Nintendo. We were told point blank that those times are over. They followed up the call with their statement in writing again confirming the 2022 championship and 2023 activity were in the exact same boat. I trust that far more than the Kotaku source. If they want to take this stance, though, then how about Nintendo tomorrow come out and say, actually, there was a misunderstanding. Smash World Tour Championships should continue as planned. And then they just reschedule the date. I'm sure players, while they will have lost a lot of money, will appreciate the chance to continue to compete at that level in that tournament. If this really is how they feel. But this, I think, is absolute nonsense, considering this is what Nintendo's actual stance was during their conversation. Do you think it's them backtracking after the pushback? No, I think this is just blatantly lying. Like, I think whoever they talk to here has no fucking clue what they're talking about. I don't know who Kotaku got in contact with, but I don't trust the source at all. Imagine this kind of drama happened in a League or Counter-Strike tournament. Oh my god, the community would lose their shit. If it happened in Counter-Strike in particular, Counter-Strike has like a tournament every hour. If all of a sudden Valve's like, actually, we're going to step in, but we're only doing one major a year. So all the other ones, get that shit out of here. We're gonna do the one Valve major a year, and all of the other ones, illegal. That'd be the end. That'd just be the end. I know it's often hard to feel special or unique in this world full of so many people, but what if I told you that you, yeah, you asshole, are actually part of history right now? You are a small footnote in what I believe to be an unbeatable world record that was just set that will stand the test of time forever. And 50 years from now, you'll be able to look back on this and tell your grandkids exactly where you were on this day. Now, I know I've made this bold claim before, back when I proudly proclaimed that I had an unbeatable world record in Mr. Krabs overdoses on ketamine and dies speedrunning, and I may have been wrong there, but history never repeats itself. This time I'm not wrong. A YouTuber named Garry has been crowned champion of YouTube copyright takedown requests. Nintendo used him like a fleshlight. He set the undisputed record of most videos taken down in a single week, blowing the asshole off of the previous world record. Garry over the last week had 3,500 of his videos taken down by Nintendo. Our good friends at Nintendo. I swear to God, my jaw always hits the floor anytime I see them use the internet in any capacity. It blows me away that they even know what it is at this point with how awful Nintendo Online is. There's no doubt they're still using dial-up, and what makes this even more impressive to me is how confident I am in saying that this was not an automated process. Normally you'd see this and be like, oh, Nintendo just used a bot and took down all of this copyrighted material. But I just don't believe that's the case with Nintendo. They're probably afraid of bots. They probably think they're gonna get their shit hacked, like the bot's gonna tap into their digital alarm clock, gain sentience, and steal their souls or something. So I truly believe they just had some unpaid interns manually go through 3,500 of Garry's videos and go through the tedious, laborious process of filing the copyright takedowns manually on each of them. And 3,500 takedowns is absolutely absurd. That is such a fucking crazy amount. If you ate a single M&M for each takedown here, you'd be diabetic by the end of it. It's fucking wild. Now, what was Garry's content that elicited such a response from Nintendo? Garry is a channel that re-uploaded Nintendo music because Nintendo themselves doesn't officially publish it anywhere that I can find. It's not on Spotify, and they don't like release it digitally anywhere, at least not from what I've been able to find or what I've been able to pick up from the community. So they have YouTubers that do it for them, but not official YouTubers, just fans of Nintendo properties will take and upload video game soundtrack from Nintendo properties and post it on YouTube so that way people can listen to it and enjoy it without having to fire up the Nintendo Switch, plug their headphones into it, and walk around with a Switch in their pocket just to listen to their favorite Smash Bros. Song. Which is obviously impractical, and that's still not even a real solution because the Switch will turn itself off after a certain amount of time, so you'd have to just like keep playing the game to keep hearing the music. So the only way that Nintendo fans can enjoy the soundtracks is from channels like Garry. And so Nintendo is just too fucking lazy and out of touch to do it for themselves, so fans took the responsibility and uploaded it so that way people could enjoy it. And the music slaps. Nintendo music has always slapped. But Nintendo's finally starting to strike back, and they targeted Garry first. I don't know if he was necessarily the biggest channel for it, but they came at him with the condom off. They stretched his ass out. There was no mercy here at WrestleMania. Nintendo went wild. So the thing is, Nintendo is completely within their right to do this. This is their property. They can defend it however they like, and they always do. You see them millions of times taking down fan projects. That's no surprise that they've done this. But it's really super scummy to think about it when there's no alternative, right? Like, if Nintendo had an official release for their soundtracks, or like their soundtracks were on Spotify and other places, then yeah, obviously taking down channels like this makes sense, because why not just go to the official source? Why bother with the re-uploads from someone else that's not affiliated with it? But Nintendo took this shit down, and there is no alternative, so it's just buried now. Now you have to, like, let's say you're at a party and you're like, hey guys, let's listen to Luigi's Mansion soundtrack. You know, you can't just be like, pass me the aux cord. It's gonna be like, all right, pass me the GameCube so I can set it up and fire up Luigi's Mansion and listen to the soundtrack. Because that's the only way you can do it. There's no other, like, official way of listening to Nintendo property music other than the YouTubers who are re-uploading it, which is illegal, of course. Nintendo can take it down, but I don't see why they do when they don't upload the official soundtrack themselves. Like, if they were gonna start uploading the music themselves, then sure. Take that shit down. And I'm sure even the channels will be like, hey, that's fine because we can't even monetize it anyway. It's not like it affects them that much. So it is pretty shitty if you ask me. Of course it is fully within their right to do so, but they don't have an official way of listening to this music. Nintendo refuses to release it, and they've never fucking bothered. So why even target the people that are just uploading it as fans? They're not making money off it. They're not stealing customers from Nintendo. These fucking fossils that run Nintendo always surprise me with just how silly their decisions are. They are truly against fun. And they're just so behind the times, it's laughable. Again, look no further than Nintendo Online. I will always take every opportunity imaginable to warn people about Nintendo Online. I'm like one of those doomsday people that stand on the side of the road like, the end is coming, buy my eucalyptus oil or whatever. You know, it is really that bad. I will always take every chance I can to drop my pants and plant a little stinker sprinkler right on the Nintendo Online service and talk about how shitty it is. You are paying for the worst online service in the business. It is a joke. And Nintendo charging for it is nothing shy of Nintendo spitting in your face. It is downright unusable on certain games. It's so fucking garbage. And Nintendo doesn't care. They don't improve it. They don't bother. It's pathetic. You're better off trying to, like, fucking Wi-Fi battle with your friends while you're both stealing internet from a local McDonald's that happens to be dilapidated while during a thunderstorm. Like, that's the kind of service you get when using Nintendo Online. It is trash. And they don't do anything about it, and they still charge you money for it. Instead, they focus their attention elsewhere, like striking down YouTube channels that are just re-uploading their most popular songs that they themselves refuse to publish anywhere. Nintendo could easily sell these soundtracks and make a killing off it, but they don't. And I think it's the fear of what if the music gets stolen or some shit. I really can't wrap my head around why they choose not to. But I wanted to talk about this because 3,500 videos being taken down is massive. And the channel still has about 6,400 videos still up. So that number, it could still get pumped up a little bit. Nintendo may only just be beginning. Like, maybe the interns needed to take a break, or maybe they had to, you know, go to the hospital after work exhaustion, and they're just going to have to get another wave in for more takedowns. We could see that number really fucking blow up soon. Like, it's 3,500 now, but it still has the potential to almost get to that 10K mark. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's something I wanted to talk about. It's not surprising to see. Nintendo has always been ruthless with the way it handles its copyright enforcement. They are more fucking vicious than Viacom. And they're so out of touch that sometimes they forget that time zones exist. I remember when Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came out, the game released a little early in places like Australia because they were a little ahead, so they had the game a bit early. So people started streaming Age of Calamity, and Nintendo struck them down and had their channels banned because they didn't understand how time zones worked. So, you know, if you're going to do anything Nintendo related, like post videos about it or content around Nintendo, just be careful. So yeah, I obviously feel really bad for Gilva Sunner here, who put so many years of work into this. I believe it was 11 years worth of re-uploading soundtrack from their favorite titles completely for free, making $0 off it, spending a ton of time on this channel, only for Nintendo to come in here and take it all down without even offering an alternative. So now that music is just gone from people to enjoy. They can't do it now. So Gilva Sunner announced that he would be closing the channel in the next few days, which is extremely sad. There is still 6,400 videos on it, so I wish he wouldn't close the channel. I'd really like to see, at least maybe if they decide to overturn their decision, maybe they, you know, have a change of heart. You know, the power of friendship finally wins like it does in all of Nintendo's games. Maybe they're like, hey, maybe we're the bad guy. We'll put it back up, at least until we announce our official soundtrack source. You know, I really just don't like when, you know, someone like Gilva Sunner decides it's not worth keeping it up, because I always think it is. And even if nothing else, why not just extend that world record, man? You got 3,500 takedowns in a week. Like, let's see if we can hit that like fucking 10,000 mark. You know, it's right in our sights. It's, like we can see the finish line. You just gotta keep the channel up. Gotta believe, you know. But anyway, I just wanted to share this story because it was again, another instance of Nintendo being a joyless, soulless corporation, and it makes me fucking upset. Because I do like their games, always have, but I've never liked the company. At least not since it's been very clear that they hate their customers and their fans. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. That's about it. So yeah. I want to start by addressing the greasy elephant in the room. My hair is not wet from a shower. In fact, quite the opposite. Hygiene is a thing of the past in Tampa right now. This is just thick, caked-on layers of grease and filth. I look like a Madame Tussauds wax statue. But it's not by choice. I'm not choosing to revert to troglodyte instincts and just turn my room into some kind of 4chan masturbatorium cum dumpster where all of a sudden I just give up on showers or anything. It's because Tampa, in all of its baffling, stunning glory, found a way to blow up the water main yesterday or 2 days ago, however long it's been. It's been 2 days without a shower for me. Because a third party was doing work on the city and they found a way to just bust that fucking bad boy completely sky high and flood half the city. I don't know what kind of work they were doing. Knowing Tampa, they were probably trying to find rare opals by just using dynamite in the streets, hoping to get lucky or something, and they ended up just blasting the pipes. But either way, it contaminated the water supply, so we're under a boil water notice and I can't shower. Rather, I don't want to shower. The city says the city will have you believe the water is safe to bathe in, just not consume. And now I'm going full conspiracy theory fucking Redditor here, and I'm starting to question the truthfulness of that kind of statement, because if the water's safe to bathe but not consume, how safe is it really? And I'm a hypochondriac already, so I just don't want to take the chance. Knowing Tampa, they're probably just dumping raw plutonium directly into the water supply. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, hey, this radioactive chemical power plant needs to be drained. Might as well just do it right into the water main here and just further contaminate the water supply. No one will notice. So I'm just, I'm not going down that path. I bought like a case of water bottles to try and bathe myself with after this video. So we'll see how that goes, but I just wanted to explain that right away. So it's only been a week since the last time I shit on Nintendo, and I want to again reiterate, fuck Nintendo. And within that week, they've somehow found more interesting and creative ways to just be hated. It's like they're speed running to try and become the most hated video game company in the fucking world, and they're succeeding. In the last video I made talking about their shit, I kind of chalked a lot of it up to just them being technologically incompetent and out of touch and afraid of change. But after the last week or so, I genuinely just believe this company is evil. I really think that they just hate gamers or their audience that they try and cater to, and do anything they can and go out of their way to keep dropping their fucking butthole in the mouth of the people that buy their products. So I'm not going to go over the same stuff I talked about in the last video. If you want to see other things to hate Nintendo for, you can watch the last video I made. But this one I want to talk about just what they've done recently. So let's start with the most pathetic thing they've done. There was a Splatoon tournament coming up a couple days ago where it was just a Nintendo Splatoon tournament for some teams to come in and compete for the grand prize of $25, which I think is probably the highest prize pool Nintendo's ever fucking offered, because they don't show any support to competitive games. To be honest, when I heard it was a $25 grand prize, I was fucking pumping both fists in the air like, yeah, good job Splatoon, you finally got Nintendo to shell out the big bucks for you. Because when I hear Nintendo grand prize, I usually think of cents. So I was expecting 25 cents maybe at most, but man, going all the way for $25 was nuts. And keep in mind, it's not actually 25 real world dollars. They were offering $25 worth of store credit to Nintendo service, baby. That's almost like 3 months worth of their awful online service where you get to play with dial-up connection. I mean, hey, it's a fucking great deal. Nintendo's crushing it. They hate the word competitive in regards to their games. They hate it. I guess it's a company run by people who only ever got participation trophies and now hate competition. I don't know what to tell you. But they fucking hate it and they offer no support. But anyway, they have this Splatoon tournament coming around where the teams were competing for $25, and they're not really there for the money. They're there just to have some fun. And anyway, 4 of the 8 teams that were competing, I think it was 4, had Save Melee, or some way of showing support for the Melee scene. Now, just to bring you up to speed on the lore, Nintendo recently shut down a massive Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament just because they didn't like it was being played on an emulator. It was really petty garbage, a bunch of bullshit, and the Splatoon community wanted to show solidarity with the Melee community, so they just made some variation of Save Melee or Free Melee as their team name, and Nintendo responded by shutting the entire fucking Splatoon tournament down. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but they revoked all live streaming rights of the tournament, basically just killing it from the get-go. And the Splatoon community then went to a different tournament with a $1,500 grand prize pool, which absolutely annihilates Nintendo's official one. So it worked out for the Splatoon community, but it just shows Nintendo's willingness to spit in the face of the people that love their games so much. Nintendo fucking hates gamers, I think it's safe to say at this point. They genuinely do everything they can to go out of their way to shit on the fun. And also, even more laughably, one of the Splatoon Opens, the grand prize of $25 wasn't even awarded to the team that won it. Here's a tweet from the team that won. They never even got their $25 gift card. Nintendo is such a piece of shit. Nintendo is so unbelievably heinous in all of their decisions, and I genuinely think they do it maliciously. I don't think it's incompetence. I really think they just have a hatred for the people that buy their products. They can't even be bothered to squeak out a $25 gift card for a team that loves their game that much and competes in tournaments. Like, that's so fucking bad. But it doesn't stop there for Nintendo. Their appetite was ravenous and they weren't satiated yet. They were thirsty, and the only thing that would quench their thirst were more Nintendo fans' tears in their glass. So the next thing Nintendo did is they set their sights and put the crosshairs on one man making custom Joy-Con controllers that were made to honor Etika. Etika was a YouTuber and a streamer and a huge fan of Nintendo IPs, and a man named Captain Alex was making Joy-Con controllers to honor him. And of course, Etika had the Joy-Con boys, so the controllers were outfitted with Joy-Con boys on the controller, and the money that was being made from those was going into charity. And of course, Nintendo, being the greedy, soulless corporation that it is, they sent a cease and desist, shutting down production. Nintendo and cease and desist go together like cereal and milk, peanut butter and jelly. They just fit together so nicely. It's used so often. Nintendo and cease and desist are pretty much synonymous at this point. Like, from now on, if you get a cease and desist, you can just call it getting Nintendo'd by this point. They cease and desist anybody. They would send a cease and desist letter to a 4-year-old that did a crayon drawing of Super Mario if it didn't properly represent their IP. To be honest, I'm surprised that Nintendo hasn't tried to sue everyone that wears a green shirt because they say it's related to Link from their IP, Legend of Zelda. They are truly shameless garbage corporation. They are the anti-fun video game developer. And I bet you're thinking, Charlie, well, that's gotta be it, right? And you'd be wrong. They have gone on a complete rampage in only like 5 or 6 days. Today, they shut down the soundtrack for Super Mario, Zelda, and Mario Kart Wii. You can no longer hear the soundtrack on YouTube. They've blocked all of it, or at least most of it, and they're going to continue to do so. It is now forbidden music because it's Nintendo's music. There's a few more things I was reading about in regards to how they would strong-arm Twitch into not allowing certain things to be broadcast, but I feel like a lot of those aren't 100% confirmed, so I'm not going to touch on it, and I don't even need to. I think it's pretty clear Nintendo doesn't care for the people that buy their games. In fact, I go a step further and say that they genuinely fucking hate them. I don't think that's a stretch to say. I really don't. They have to go out of their way to find these things that they're shutting down and cease and desisting. They have to genuinely be scouting the entire internet to look for people to shit on. It's crazy. Now, I've already started my protest of Nintendo. I didn't buy Age of Hyrule Calamity, Chlamydia Warriors, whatever the fuck it was called. I already forgot. The Age of Hyrule Warriors Calamity, whatever. Because fuck Nintendo. I've never seen a company be so open with how much they don't like the communities that play their games. It's wild. They're not just out of touch. They're downright attacking the people that play their shit. If they're not playing it in the Nintendo-sanctioned way, then Nintendo's gonna try and have your ass thrown in jail. It's a terrible company. It's horrible shit. Horrible, horrible shit, really. Fuck Nintendo. That's about it. See ya. It's been said a million times how out of touch Nintendo is with the world around them, And it should be said a million more times because it is laughable how archaic and primitive and disconnected from reality Nintendo is. If Nintendo was an army, they would still be fighting using muskets. Nintendo is like inhabited by nothing but Neanderthals afraid of fire. If you walked into the Nintendo office and said the word technology or internet, they'd all collectively hide under their desks out of fear. It is pathetic how behind the times Nintendo is. Why am I talking about Nintendo? It's because they've just done two incredibly fucking dumb things in the last 12 hours, back to back. A double whammy, double fisting the entire online community. The first thing they did is start striking Twitch streamers for playing their Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity game on stream a little early. And the reason they're playing the game early is because it came out in their area. Nintendo doesn't understand that time zones exist. They think everything is Nintendo time, baby. So the game is legally out in Australia and other parts of the world, so they just started streaming the game, but Nintendo doesn't fucking know that, so they think they've pirated the game, so they struck their channel down as a result. If you told Nintendo that other places have different time than what they see on the clock in their office, they'd call you a liar, heretic, flat earth, conspiracy theorist, all kinds of crazy shit, because it looks like they don't understand how fucking time zones work. That's how delusional Nintendo is. Nintendo is to gaming what the workers at Disney World are to the magic of imagination, locked in a fantasy world. They can't process reality or what the fuck is even going on in the world, it feels like. You need to look no further than the Nintendo Online service, the worst online functionality that you have to fucking pay a fee for. Whereas most things, like on PC and shit, you don't have to pay to play online. For Nintendo, you do, and you get the worst service. It's like a service you would find out of a dumpster 20 years ago. Like, it's terrible. It's fucking terrible. It makes me wonder how they even develop games in the first place with this archaic understanding of technology and the internet. Keep in mind, this is the company that used to strike YouTube videos and entire channels if you even played Mario Kart or had Mario soundtrack in your videos. That was only like 5 or 6 years ago. It wasn't even long ago. Nintendo probably still uses pigeon carried mail as opposed to electronic mail because they're afraid of the email boogeyman. Now, aside from just this ridiculous striking crusade they went on today, they also decided to cease and desist a major Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament because they were using Slippy. I'm not going to get too deep into what Slippy is, but in a nutshell, it allows Super Smash Bros. Melee to be played online via emulator with rollback netcode, and it is the best possible online experience you can find for Melee. And since the world is still experiencing a pandemic, they can't have Melee tournaments in person, obviously, so they were using Slippy, and Nintendo put their fingers up their ass and got real stinky about it, sent out a full cease and desist to shut it all down. Just classic Nintendo shitting on everybody's fun and not understanding anything of what they're doing and how it affects people. Nintendo's whole brand image is about making content for the whole family to enjoy, but it seems like they prefer fucking families in the ass. They've always had a bad reputation when it comes to anything involving consumers and communities. They don't care about communities. They just like to slap them around and use them. And now, of course, you have the 15-year-old certified Twitter lawyers weighing in on the legality of Nintendo stepping in and shutting this down. Well, it's well within Nintendo's rights to shut this down. I mean, it is their property, and it is an emulated version of their game. I think it's totally fine they shut it down. It's Nintendo, and I think that's okay. Well, asshole, I mean, we could debate the legality of emulators all night and day, but at the end of the day, this is a 20-year-old game. I don't think they're somehow missing out on sales by having people emulate and play it online. I don't think there's anyone out there scratching at their neck right now waiting for Christmas so they can finally get a GameCube in Super Smash Bros. Melee. I highly doubt that, but what could happen is some people tune into a massive Smash Bros. Melee tournament, see how much fun the game is, and then go out of their way to become a fan of Super Smash Bros., where they likely do buy Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Switch, you know? There's a lot of things that could happen in regards to getting new audience, a new player base from watching an old game being played that Nintendo isn't making any money on these days. I don't think Super Smash Bros. Melee is somehow a cash cow at Nintendo HQ. They likely forgot they even made the fucking game. So yes, you and I can plop by the fireplace with an open bathrobe and debate the legality and whether or not Nintendo is well within their rights to shut it down till the cows come home, but it doesn't matter. The fact remains that it's still a douchey thing to do. It's a nearly 20-year-old property. Why are they trying to enforce that intellectual property tooth and nail and dictate how people can enjoy that game from that many decades ago. It's not worth it. Just let people have their fucking fun. It's not a hard concept. Nintendo's supposed to be all about fun, right? Like, fun for the whole family, all this and that. So what is the point in being so nasty and heavy-handed on everything relating to their property? It's a worthless fight that they decide to take with the community that supports them. It's pathetic. They absolutely just slap around the people that really like their games. It's really sad shit. And Nintendo is just so out of touch with the world that it is laughable. And it's really upsetting that they continue to operate this way without any consequence. They will always seem to be supported by the general population of gamers, even though they have no respect for gamers or anything in that ballpark. They probably don't even know what a gamer is. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo's under the assumption that they're making pharmaceutical products or something. I really don't understand how the fuck they even make games with this basic level of understanding of the internet. It blows my fucking mind. It really does. They are so incredibly out of touch. And there's a hashtag floating around for Melee right now, which is hashtag free Melee, hoping that Nintendo will see it and retract their decision to shut this big event down. Hopefully it works, but I can tell you right now, Nintendo doesn't know what Twitter is. Nintendo's Twitter account is run by one guy in their basement that they don't even pay. And he said, let's just make a Twitter account. And they said, fuck you, just do whatever, stay in that basement. They don't know what that is. They probably won't see it. Would love to be proven wrong. Hopefully Free Melee does something, but I just wanted to vent about Nintendo. That's about it. See ya.